This young man is named Leon Kazmos. Little did he know, not even in his wildest dreams, that his enemy, the Dragon Clan, would turn out to be led by a female dragon. What's even more surprising is that she ended up giving him twin dragon children. It all started when, while in prison, Leon accidentally triggered a blood curse, but instead of causing Rose weird pain as it was meant to, it unexpectedly made her go into a lustful frenzy. What happened next is probably something everyone already knows. Rose became the noble queen of the Dragon Clan. Rose had never experienced such humiliation before, but since the Dragon Clan follows the strict rule of having only one mate, no matter how angry she was, she couldn't kill Leon right then. To ensure her children would have a father, she decided to bring Leon to her castle and make him her husband. So, will our hero wake up and seek revenge on Rose, or will he betray the human race and become a son-in-law to the Dragon Clan? Let's get into the main story to find out. In the dungeons of the Dragon Clan, in the largest cell placed in the center of the facility, two Dragon Clan knights stood guard. From this alone, one could guess that the person being held there was no ordinary prisoner. The stillness of the space was shattered by the sound of high heels clicking. The sound of high heels clicking echoed as she walked forward. Two Dragon Clan knights looked up, startled, and respectfully bowed their heads. Her Majesty. Both placed a hand on their left chest, bending slightly at the waist, waiting for the command from the young woman before them. Leave. I wish to speak with him alone. They replied in unison, Yes, Your Majesty. The one called Her Majesty was a young woman with a strikingly beautiful appearance. Her long platinum blonde hair flowed freely, and her sharp, proud eyes shone with a fierce gleam. She was none other than the Silver Dragon Queen, Rose Weir. Rose stepped into the prison, her gaze falling on the man chained before her. She extended her hands mockingly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. So, the great hero of mankind, how does it feel to be a prisoner of ours? The Dragon Slayer, a young, strong human, remained unshaken despite the dangerous situation. His dark eyes locked onto hers, cold and unwavering, as he spoke with icy resolve. Kill me. Rose seemed to find his words amusing. She cupped her cheek with one hand, unable to suppress a smirk as her lips curved upward. Oh, do you want me to help set you free? The Silver Dragon Queen lifted her captive's chin, her tone dripping with arrogance and a hint of mockery, accompanied by a smirk. It's not going to be that easy. Well, you are a handsome, tough man, after all. She trailed off, not finishing her sentence. Instead, she used her sharp claws to carve a thin line across his cheek, then continued. A few scars would make you even more perfect. Fresh red blood trickled down, staining the queen's delicate fingers. The Dragon Slayer felt a sharp sting. He gritted his teeth, barely able to stop a groan from escaping his throat. Ha! Sensing a deep contempt for the woman before him, he jerked away from her hand and snarled. Stop trying to humiliate me. If you want to kill me, or whatever, do it. Just get on with it. Rose didn't seem angry at all. Her playful, peach-colored tongue slid out to lick the blood off her hand. She chuckled, half serious, half teasing. A strong man like you, if it weren't for that petty person's betrayal, you wouldn't have ended up in this sorry state. Maybe you should consider joining my Silver Dragon Clan. The prisoner didn't flinch at her offer. He calmly smiled, his words dripping with arrogance. Do you think you deserve this? The Silver Dragon Queen furrowed her brows, clearly displeased. She swung her arm, and with immense strength broke the thick chains. The Dragon Slayer was thrown backward, crashing into the stone wall behind him. He lay there motionless, pain shooting up his spine. It felt as if his internal organs had been crushed. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. Before he could even begin to recover, a foot kicked into his stomach. A cold, clear voice from above followed. How dare a prisoner be so disrespectful to me? Rose crossed her arms, her face filled with fury. She stomped on him, her tone growing even more merciless and sharp. Leon Kazmos, do you still think you're the hero everyone once praised? Are you still dreaming that foolish dream of destroying the Dragon Clan and leaving your name for future generations? She tilted her head, smiling mockingly as she delivered the cruelest words. Ha ha, wake up. You're about to die here. You, who have no idea of your own limits. The failure, like an ant. Rose pressed her toes hard into his chest and laughed, saying, Who knows, I'm just saying you might have a chance to share wealth and glory with your descendants. She leaned down, staring coldly at the human, and said, A very interesting hypothesis, isn't it? But too bad. You don't have any hairs. That day will never come. The Dragon Slayer, Leon Kazmos, refused to yield. He gritted his teeth and stubbornly spoke. Rose Weir, don't underestimate humanity. Before he could finish, a silver dragon tail coiled around his neck. Weir lifted him off the ground. She was starting to lose patience with him. What a stubborn little brat. The dragon tail tightened around Leon's neck, cutting off his air supply. He gasped, desperately gripping the tail to try and break free. Leon, in excruciating pain, squeezed his eyes shut and gasped out, Queen, Your Majesty. Hearing the words Your Majesty spoken with such respect, Rose Weir's previously frustrated mood lightened. She asked, "What's this? Are you begging for mercy now?" Unfortunately, Leon Cosmos didn't say anything related to the words, "Forgive me." He struggled to open his eyes, trying to finish a broken sentence. From earlier, she had already made 2 mistakes. The queen suddenly let out a small gasp and then heard him speak. "First, you shouldn't be alone with one of the strongest of the dragon slayers, someone who's been through intense training." Rose Weir bit her lip, staring at the human boy, continuing to listen. "Second, you absolutely shouldn't." The dragon slayer suddenly widened his eyes, his dark pupils engulfed in a blood-red hue. A complex, multi-layered magic formation appeared in his eyes. Levin yelled, "Taste my blood." At the same moment, Weir's eyes also glowed with a brilliant red. Her face became blank and dazed as if something was controlling her. Her long silver tail loosened, dropping Leon to the ground. He landed softly. Meanwhile, the silver dragon queen suddenly grew restless for no clear reason. She clenched her fists tightly, sweat pouring down her face. Rose Weir bit her lip, nearly sobbing, and thought, "So hot." Her body was weak, collapsing to the ground. "Queen, your majesty, I can't control my own body anymore," she murmured, her voice filled with confusion. Why? Why is this happening to my body?" Weir trembled slightly, her face suddenly flushing a deep, mysterious red. A heat, originating from her lower abdomen, surged through her body. What is going on? Leon Cosmos didn't notice anything unusual. He assumed she was simply in pain and had fallen to her knees, so he approached her without caution. "Queen, your majesty, soon you will feel a pain that pierces your soul, a pain that will last for the rest of your life." Rose lowered her head, silent, her lips tightly pressed together, trembling slightly. Just as Leon got closer, the queen suddenly lunged at him, her hot body pressed against his cool skin. Rose Weir felt even more at ease, sliding down toward him. Her lips remained sealed, and her expression was filled with an unspoken desire as she stared intently at him. Leon felt the soft pressure of her body against his, and a sense of unease washed over him. What is happening? Only when he noticed her unusually flushed face did Leon Cosmos finally understand what was going on. What's going on? Is she aroused? As if to answer the question in his mind, Rose suddenly moved forward and kissed him. Leon's eyes widened. Even though he knew the young woman in his arms was his enemy, couldn't help but feel the embarrassment spreading across his cheeks. The Dragon Clan's dungeon suddenly fell silent. The harsh conversation stopped, replaced by heavy, uneven breaths. An hour later, scattered clothes lay on the ground, enough to show how intense the previous moment had been. Rose Weir opened her eyes, the blood-red hue in her gaze slowly fading. She looked around, confused at her naked body. Only then did she begin to clear her foggy mind, wrapping her arms around herself in an attempt to gather her thoughts. "What is this?" Queen Weir wasn't stupid, and immediately she cursed angrily. "You bastard." Furious, she lashed out with her tail, striking him as she continued to shout, "What have you done to me?" Leaning against the dungeon wall, Leon opened his eyes and calmly explained as if nothing had happened. "A blood pact. Life can only use forbidden magic once. You have tasted my blood, and between us, a soul bond has been formed. After I die, the curse will cause you to suffer immensely." Rose Weir shouted in anger, "That's nonsense. If this is a curse that takes effect after your death, then what about what just happened?" Even the Dragon Slayer hadn't expected this to happen. He slowly closed his cloudy eyes, speaking in a calm tone, without any hint of emotion. "That was an accident. I thought that what would happen after my death would be suffering, but I didn't expect the side effect would make you mature." Queen didn't want to hear this. She awkwardly cut him off. "Shut up." The atmosphere between them instantly shifted. This time, it was Leon's turn to smirk at her. "But, as I understand it, your Dragon Clan follows the rule of one husband, one wife, right?" He said smugly, as if he had just made a perfect checkmate. "After I die, Queen, your majesty of the Silver Dragons will not only be unable to find a new mate, but you won't even be able to have offspring, and you won't be able to explain why. The effect of this restriction spell exceeds all my expectations." The queen couldn't bear the humiliation. She growled, "You." However, Leon Cosmos didn't even flinch at the oppressive aura the queen was radiating. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he casually laughed, saying, "What was it you just said? Queen, your majesty, the great silver dragon, you said I have no legacy, but now it looks like you have no successor either. Ah, no dragon hair." Hitting a nerve, Weir was so furious that she transformed into a dragon, her claws sprouting as she lunged at him. "That bastard!" Just as the dragon's claws were about to reach him, Levan gave a soft chuckle, his eyes gradually losing focus, yet he remained calm. "Want to kill me? There's no need for your majesty to do it yourself. I'll die soon enough." In stark contrast to the livid face of Rose Weir, full of hatred and rage, Liam Cosmos looked like a man on his last breath. His face was blank, drained of all vitality, the faint light in his eyes slowly fading. Still, Leon Kazmos stubbornly uttered his last mocking words. Take my hatred with you. Carry the suffering for the rest of your life and live on. This is the curse I, a human, have placed upon you. The dungeon suddenly fell silent. Queen, your majesty coldly put her clothes back on, remaining silent the entire time, as if deep in thought. Rose crossed her arms and stepped closer to Leon, who was lying helplessly on the cold stone floor. She scoffed and said, just a human, using such cowardly tactics to get revenge on me, still wanting to die. She raised her hand and a cold light suddenly flashed from her palm. Her gaze was firm and cold as she said, it's not that easy. With that strange light, a peculiar silver symbol appeared on Leon Kazmo's chest. It resembled a strong shield made from the scales of a silver dragon. No one knew what Leon would have to face when he woke up. A young man lay quietly on a bed. Leon Kazmos, a former legendary dragon slayer hero. His life had been filled with many experiences. Since he was a child, he had always protected his friends from wild dogs. At the age of 5, he had killed a vicious dog. He was taken in as an apprentice by the greatest dragon slayer master. Growing up, he also had the privilege of studying at a prestigious academy. At the age of 10, he enrolled in the Dragon Slayer Institute of the Empire, and within just 4 years, he graduated as the youngest and most talented in its history. As he got older, he joined in the fight against monsters. At 15, he entered the Dragon Slayer battlefield, slaying countless evil dragons, reclaiming territories, and achieving numerous heroic feats for the Empire. He sat proudly atop a dragon's corpse, and from that moment, Leon earned the title of the strongest Dragon Slayer hero. He led the Empire to victory, becoming the sole hope to end the ongoing war. But everything changed when he was captured by the Dragon Clan. It had been 2 years since his capture. Leon slowly regained consciousness, suddenly waking from a long, deep slumber, his body jerking upright as he let out a terrified scream. It felt like he had just awoken from a long nightmare, his breath coming in quick, panicked gasps. A sense of unease crept over him, and instinctively, he pressed his hand to his chest, filled with a deep sense of dread. It was only then that Leon Kazmos took in his surroundings, realizing he was lying in a strange room, recovering. He realized this was a strange place. Where am I? He murmured as he looked at the unfamiliar surroundings. As he was feeling confused, the door to the room creaked open and a little strand of hair peeked out. A cute little girl pushed the door open and looked inside. When she saw he was awake, she was very happy. Ah, you're awake? Her appearance made someone like Leon, a hero, feel a flutter in his heart. She's so cute, he thought. It was as if he realized something and slowly got out of bed, quietly praising himself. So that's it. I'm starting to understand everything now. It must be because of all the great contributions I've made to humanity that I've ended up in heaven. Looking at the little girl, Leon's spirits were high. He pointed at her and declared, you're the angel from the legends. This made the little girl confused, and she asked, what's an angel? Seeing her so innocent, Leon grew even fonder of her. He sat down next to her and started a conversation. Hello there, little angel. What's your name? The girl cheerfully responded, it's Moan. The more Leon looked at Moan, the more he found her obedient and adorable. He couldn't help but compliment her. Moan? That's a really beautiful name. But he also had a bit of a question. But the angel's hair was a bit strange, with both black and white strands. Hearing the compliment, the little girl happily explained the meaning of her name. Mom said it means moonlight. This only made his curiosity grow even more. Angels have mothers? Anyway, Leon didn't really care about these kinds of questions, so he started introducing himself. I'm Leon Kazmos. The little girl excitedly exclaimed, I know. Leon means lion. This time, Moan was surprised again, and Leon immediately asked, who told you that? Mom did it, she answered right away. The doubt in Leon's mind grew stronger. No way. This time, he decided to ask directly, excuse me, is your mother? Before he could finish the question, the little girl quickly answered, Rose Weir. Hearing that name, the one Leon never wanted to hear right now, froze him in place. After a long pause, he slowly regained his composure, though still shaken, and tried to continue. Your mother is Rose Weir? Then the little girl innocently replied, you're my dad. Hearing the answer, Leon felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Rubbing his head in confusion, he wondered, Dad, how could it be that she's my daughter with Rose? While struggling to figure out what to do, he heard Moan calling, Ah, great mother? Shocked and tense, he turned to look at the person who had suddenly appeared. In contrast to Leon's fear, the little girl happily ran over, cheering, Great mother, Daddy's awake. I know, Rose Weir said as she hugged the girl. At that moment, their eyes met. Leon looked at her with suspicion, while Weir gave him a provocative look and said, Finally awake, Leon. Ignoring the tense atmosphere, the little girl cheerfully continued, Great mother is so happy Daddy's awake. She's been hoping for this every day. Hearing that, Weir shot him a cold look and said, exactly. Leon didn't believe a word of it, thinking to himself, I'd be a fool to trust her. He didn't want to engage any further and said to the girl alone, go play for a while. Your mom and I need to talk. The girl obediently nodded, okay. At this point, only 2 people remained in the room. Leon decided to get straight to the point. Moan, is she really my daughter? Hearing his question, she wasn't surprised. Of course, she's our biological daughter. Her answer made him suspicious. She must hate him to the core, and she wasn't rushing to please him. Rose used her tail to close the door that had been opened earlier. Not hearing a reply, Leon grew more frustrated and asked again, why have a child? Why save my life? Her eager attitude only amused Rose more. You were in a coma for 2 years. After everything that happened 2 years ago, do you really think it can just be forgotten? Those words didn't soothe Leon. Instead, they made him angrier. Do you think I wanted it to be like this? Humans and dragons are sworn enemies. If it weren't for the situation, I'd rather die than have anything to do with you. This time, Leon's words provoked Weir. Oh, so touching me is also a form of torment for you? He didn't care and responded flatly, naturally. After hearing his response, she couldn't hesitate any longer. She used her dragon tail to wrap around his leg. She pushed me down onto the bed. Caught off guard, I let out a surprised ah-ha. The suddenness of it all left me confused. I asked her, what do you want to do? Without hesitation, she crawled over me and used her slender hands to tear my shirt open. Her eyes were full of desire as she looked at me, and then she performed a spell. Excitedly, she shared, I want to carve my dragon mark onto your body. Stop! Rose Weir, I cried out in fear, but it was already too late. The spell had already touched my chest. Calmly, she spoke, it will become your shame. From now on, you will be my prisoner. In this life and the next, you will never be able to escape me. The dragon mark was complete. She looked at her handiwork and with satisfaction said, when your fellow humans see the dragon mark on you, how do you think they'll react? Will they think you're a great hero, a dragon slayer, or will they see you as a traitor, someone who sided with the dragon clan? The emotional blow to Leon Kazmos was immense. He stared at the mark on his chest, struggling to ask, why do you have to go this far? His innocent expression excited Rose even more. Still don't understand, Leon. At this point, it became clear that the concept of revenge for the Dragon Clan had always been an unsolved mystery for researchers studying them. This revenge no longer contained the desires or actions of humans. It was a blend of mythical elements, extremism, and something beyond human understanding. Now she looked at him with a feeling full of lust and declared, I want you to live your entire life in shame, to be humiliated by me forever. Leon's body also clearly felt the heat rising within him. He realized that this feeling, seeing his own helpless and resigned posture, made Weir even more satisfied. She said, then let's begin now. At this moment, the unique traits of the Dragon Clan became clearer. Specifically, for the Silver Dragon Queen Rose Weir, Leon, the greatest dragon slayer of humanity, was transformed into a slave of the Dragon Clan. In some sense, Leon became the closest companion of the Silver Dragon Queen. Though it might be hard to believe from a human perspective, this was revenge. Her revenge against the Dragon Slayer as a member of the Dragon Clan. Outside the Silver Dragon Fortress, a grand and magnificent place, the warm sunlight shone down. In a long hallway of the fortress, 2 dragon maids, each carrying a basket, chatted happily. The queen seems to be in a good mood today, one maid said cheerfully. The other maid covered her mouth with her hand and replied with a smile, don't you know? Her husband has woken up. At that moment, Leon Kazmos, the dragon slayer who had been drained of all energy, was hiding behind a wall, quietly watching the 2 maids chat with joy. In his anger, the drained dragon slayer Leon thought to himself, so that dragon has already spread the word that he's her husband. You all have no idea just how terrifying that female dragon really is. He recalled the image of him and Rose Weir together, reaching their peak. She was riding on top of Leon, gripping tightly, her face flushed, tilting her head back in pleasure, moaning, harder, faster. Leon. Thinking back to that moment, Leon was seething with rage. She had drained him for an entire day and night. His old back was about to break. Leon recalled that terrifying day. His eyes were bruised, and his fists were clenched. A fire of determination burned inside him. I, Leon Kazmos, will never stay here quietly and become her toy. Ahead, a few knights from the Dragon Clan were on guard. They wore armor, held spears, and were particularly serious about their watch. Leon pressed himself against the wall, glanced back, and thought, there are 4 Dragon Clan guards at the side entrance. Getting out of here is basically impossible. He turned around, rested his hand on his chin, and started to plan his next move. But why were there so few guards at the Silver Dragon Temple today? It was nothing like when he first arrived 2 years ago. The place was eerily quiet. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed as he noticed something. Why is there a cave here? He pushed aside some bushes to reveal an opening. This wouldn't be a trap, would it? He continued clearing the bushes, uncovering a small tunnel leading outside. Leon crouched down, holding his face in confusion. I don't care anymore. I can't think too much right now. Anyway, I have to leave here. Even if it's a trap, I have to break out. Without wasting any time, he decided to crawl through the hole. Goodbye, you perverted dragon, he muttered. As for the little dragon, you're cute, but you'll only temporarily belong to her. As he crawled, his eyes stayed fixed ahead, hoping for a future where he could escape this place. At that moment, the little girl Moan seemed to notice him. She popped up from the opposite side of the wall, looking up. Excited, she turned to Weir, pointing at Leon crawling through the tunnel on the other side of the wall. Great mother, look! Dad's crawling through a hole, he's amazing, she exclaimed. Weir, who was lounging in a light swimsuit, soaking up the sun on the wall, holding a glass of wine, responded casually. Ah, I see. He really is impressive. Mother stood up, eager, and asked, So when is Great Mother going to pull Dad back? Weir leaned down and placed her finger to the girl's lips, signaling for quiet. You shouldn't say pull back. It's very rude. Moan tilted her head in confusion, hands on her hips, and asked, So how exactly do I use it? Rose Weir smiled mysteriously, replying, Catch back. Sometime later, Leon had escaped from the dog hole and was running for his life across the fields outside. As he ran, he thought to himself, if I get through a few more mountains, I should be able to see the border of the territory. Leon didn't forget to stop and look around, thinking if I run this far, that female dragon shouldn't catch up to me, right? Suddenly, Leon Cosmos felt something and jerked his head up, startled. Rose Weir had transformed into a white dragon and was flying toward him, determined to bring him back. Leon, panicked, watched as she swooped toward him. She dove down and screamed angrily, You're faster than I thought, Leon. His face was filled with panic and in fear. He turned to run, muttering, Shit, damn. Rose Weir darted past him, cutting him off. She landed in front of him, standing tall, and with an irritated tone, she asked, Is this how you're going to play me? Is it fun? Her eyes burned with anger as she glared down at him, clearly ready to expose his plan. Yeah, it's all very satisfying. Don't you think everything is going a bit too smoothly? Who helped you move those guards out of the way, leaving you a way to escape? She asked. He broke into a cold sweat, then responded honestly. Even knowing it was a trap, I had no other choice. I just didn't expect you to show up so quickly. Weir leaned in closer and continued. Now, if you run back to human territory, what do you think will happen? You already have my mark on your chest. Do you think they'll still accept a dragon slayer like you? Leon, growing more agitated, shouted, Then I'll just start a normal life. Anything is better than being tortured by you. Humph, you really don't know when to give up. Rose, annoyed, flapped her wings, sending gusts of wind toward him. She grabbed him with her tail, startling him. Let go of me. Where are you taking me, damn dragon? As she carried him through the air, Liam screamed while being dragged along. Once she had a firm hold on him, Weir soared into the sky and flew off in a direction. She said, If you really want to go back, I'll make sure to grant your wish. Near the border city, the Empire's landscape appeared. In the sky, the bright moon had risen high. She flew past a tall tree nearby. Then suddenly she let him fall from above, causing Leon to scream. He dropped hard, crashing through the tree branches. Finally, Leon landed painfully on a thick branch. He still had enough strength to sit up, rubbing his head, groaning, That hurts. Leon shook his head from the pain. He couldn't hold it in and complained, It hurts so much. Then he slowly opened his eyes and noticed something ahead. In front of him was the scene of a village still lit up, blending with the natural tree canopies. Leon was stunned, his face filled with surprise and emotion as he gazed at the familiar sight. He exclaimed, Is this the human village? Rose Weir returned to her human form, standing next to him with her arms crossed in front of the large speakers. She replied, Exactly, that's the human empire. She stood beside him, also looking toward the town she hadn't seen in a long time. She asked, What do you think? Is it true that if you go through there, you can return to the human world? She asked Leon. Leon Cosmos was deeply moved, staring at the familiar town, tears welling up in his eyes, almost as if he were about to cry. But Leon, she said, her voice smug, You can't go back. Even though it was so close, the mark on her chest began to glow with a purple light. He startled, looking down at the mark on his own chest. Just like Weir's, it too was starting to shine. Oh, I forgot to mention both of them had dragon marks. When one of them forms a connection with the other, the mark reacts like this. She explained, her expression full of mischief as though she were teasing him. As she spoke, she pushed him back toward the tree behind them. Liam was terrified, stepping backward until he bumped into the tree. Now, there was no way out. He had no choice but to brace himself for whatever was coming from her. Weir moved closer, placing her hand over his chest where the dragon mark was glowing. She said, "Do you feel it now? Your body burning, your heart feeling like it's being torn apart. Can't you stand the emotion you're feeling right now?" He was trembling with fear, stuttering. "You? Do you want to stay here? Do you know why I brought you here?" Rose's voice was venomous, her smile dark as she revealed the reason for bringing Leon to this place, standing so close to his homeland. Leon was serious. He gripped his collar, hiding the dragon mark she had left on him, and then asked her, "Do you think this will make me lose faith?" He stepped closer, grabbing her wrist tightly and shouted at her, catching Rose off guard. "I'll wait for the right moment, and when that time comes, I'll return the humiliation you've caused me, twice as much." Rose Weir froze. Weir was surprised too. She paused, saying nothing, staring at him as if she had realized something. She closed her eyes and smirked. "Oh, fine then." Then Weir pressed herself against him, her chest against his. "I'll wait for you, and I won't rest until you're dead," she said, her eyes glinting with a dark, ominous light. That night, near the Imperial City, a tall tree stood under the soft glow of the moonlight. At the giant tree near the border, after finishing their training duel, Rose Weir smiled contentedly, her face glowing with pride as she adjusted her white robe, still slightly ruffled from the intense magic exchange. "Your performance just now, I'm quite pleased," she said with a satisfied tone, glancing at Leon, who lay flat on the ground. He was exhausted, pale, and breathing heavily, sweat trailing down his face like tears. He looked as if the last drop of energy had been drained from his body. "How about I bring you here every month? A little nostalgia from your homeland. Won't that be fun?" Weir teased as she lay down beside him, playfully poking his shoulder with her finger. Her dragon tail lazily swayed behind her, stirring the grass. Annoyed, Leon suddenly sat up and muttered, "Huff, I think your dragon side just wants to drain every bit of mana I have left." Without shame, she grinned and replied, "Ha ha, so you finally figured it out." Realizing they couldn't linger any longer, Rose Weir stood and turned away. "Let's go. The girl's waiting for us back home." As she spoke, her radiant white dragon wings spread wide, streaked faintly with violet light. Behind her, Leon struggled to stand, still catching his breath and brushing dirt off his clothes. "Wait," he called out, causing her to pause and glance back. Leon slowly stood up, eyes meeting hers. He bluntly refused her offer to give him a ride and walked ahead. "As a dragon slayer, I'd never let you drag me back like some kind of prey. I'll go back on my own." She laughed and replied to Leon, "Ha ha, from here to the Silver Dragon Holy Temple. It'll take me about 3 hours by flying. For humans, it takes at least 10 days to half a month." But he stubbornly insisted on not letting her carry him, replying, "Only 10 days to half a month? Don't underestimate the endurance of humans. I'm curious to see how long you can keep this up," she said, clearly enjoying the situation. She decided to retract her wings and follow him. Sometime later, Levan Kazmos was holding onto patches of grass by the side of the road, gasping for air after the long journey. He was exhausted, breathing heavily, his eyes half closed from the fatigue. Rose Weir, walking behind, teased him. "Can't keep going? You should pick me to help you." But Leon quickly interrupted, turning back to refuse. "No need," Who said, "I'm tired." Hearing this, she snorted and responded, "Huff, the only thing you're good at is running your mouth." He was about to retort angrily when he said, "You." Before Leon could speak, both he and Weir heard a sound coming from the distance. A group of armored riders on horseback was approaching. From far away, Leon recognized them as the Dragon Slayer squad. Feeling a spark of hope, he was about to move toward them. Perfect. These people might be able to help me get rid of this dragon, he thought. But Weir's expression darkened as she shot him an irritated look. Leon turned to face her, sensing the cold energy coming from her. Seeing her face grow grim, her eyes red, his own face turned pale in response. He realized his mistake. If he asked for their help, Rose White would definitely kill them without hesitation. Wait. Suddenly, the leader of the Dragon Slayer group stopped, signaling the others to halt. He turned to look at Leon and Rose Weir from a distance and called out, "Are you two lost?" Leon forced a smile, scratching his head as he replied, "No, we're just out for a walk." Because of that, he reluctantly gave up on the idea of escaping, thinking, "I can't drag innocent people into this." The leader dismounted his horse and said, "This forest isn't exactly a safe place for a stroll. There are many dangerous plants and wild animals around here. How about we take the two of you a little further?" He offered to help Leon and Weir. He walked up to Leon, extending his hand as a gesture of assistance, and introduced himself. "Oh, by the way, my name is Laoki, captain of Team 47 of the Imperial Dragon Slayer unit." Leon, flustered and nervous, responded to Laoki. "That's your introduction. Thank you for your kindness. We've also undergone some self-defense training so we can protect ourselves." In his mind, he was desperately pleading, "Don't come any closer." He was silently begging Oki to stay away because Weir was behind him, and it seemed like she was planning to take down the entire Dragon Slayer squad. Aoki seemed to notice something. He looked at Leon casually. Ha, you seem a bit familiar. Have I met you before? The question took Leon by surprise, but it also made her even more displeased. Her gaze was sharp like a knife. Leon turned stunned when he saw that she was already preparing an attack, clearly ready to wipe out the Dragon Slayer squad. He realized things were about to go wrong. Suddenly, he grabbed Rose's hand, which had already readied an attack. He pulled her closer to him, smiling as he said, "My lady, you've mistaken someone. I have such a common face. Even my wife sometimes gets confused, right?" He was explaining to Oki, but also asking her to ease the situation. Weir was stunned, looking at Liam in surprise, not understanding why he changed his mind so quickly. Leon whispered to her, "I'll follow you quietly. Let's work together to get rid of them." He made the deal immediately. Rose Weir leaned into Leon, acting sweetly in front of Oki. The atmosphere between the two of them became much warmer. "Ha ha, well then, I won't disturb your romance any longer," Oki said, seeing them so close together. He couldn't dare to stay any longer. With a smile, he waved and mounted his horse to continue his journey. The two of them stood holding each other, waiting for the Dragon Slayer army to move further away. As soon as they were out of earshot, Weir's expression changed. She asked him, "Done with the hugging?" She quickly pulled her hand back and stepped away from Leon, making him jump in surprise. Leon, you're very clever. You didn't call for help from them? But there's one thing." She crossed her arms and looked at him, her gaze stern. "You need to make your position clear. Just because we have a child together doesn't mean I'm your wife," she said sharply. Weir stepped closer, shouting in his face, her hand poking him as a reminder. "Oh, I never wanted to be your wife," he replied, turning away helplessly. It was the only way to keep the Dragon Slayer soldiers safe. Rose Weir turned on her heel, crossing her arms. "Let's go. We still have a long way to go." Leon collapsed behind her, his face pale, and suddenly a sharp pain shot through his hand, making him break out in a cold sweat. It turned out he had touched something earlier. His palm was now bleeding heavily. His vision blurred as he looked at Weir standing in front of him. Then he fell to the ground. The sound of his fall made Rose turn around and glance at him. "Passed out already?" she asked coldly, looking at the man lying unconscious in front of her. "Humans really are weak," she muttered with disdain before starting to transform, her body glowing with bright purple and white light. Weir shifted into her dragon form. She picked up Liam's jacket with her mouth and dragged him along. With a flick of her hand, Liam was tossed into the air effortlessly, then gently landed on her back. "Ha ha, looks like this time you've begged for mercy," she said, glancing down at Leon, who was unconscious as she carried him towards the rising sun. Inside the magnificent palace, everything continued as usual. There was an unusual air about the place, as if something was slowly shifting. Inside the palace, Leon slowly began to wake up. Seeing him stir, Moan, who had been waiting, excitedly exclaimed, "Dad's awake." Leon, still confused, felt a pounding headache. He frowned and wondered, "Why am I here?" Moan immediately answered, "Great Mother brought you back, Dad." The memories of yesterday came rushing back, causing him to shudder as he recalled them. "Damn it, at the end, she caught me like prey." A strange feeling washed over him. He glanced down at his hands and noticed they had been bandaged. "Ha," he said, surprised. "Look, Dad, I helped bandage it." Moan proudly showed off her work. Her words made Leon rethink things, seeing them in a different light. According to dragon researchers, the Dragon Clan was known for being fierce and brutal. Since childhood, his life had been nothing but violence and bloodshed. Though Moan clearly showed traits of the Dragon Clan, when Leon looked at her arm, his mind wandered. Yet the girl didn't harbor any hostility toward him. She saw him completely as her father. Was it because of the mixed blood of humans and dragons? He gently patted Moan's head, praising her like she deserved a reward. Moan, you're so good." Moan, pleased by the praise, smiled brightly. "You're so cute, Moan. When you grow up, don't turn out like your mother, okay?" Upon hearing this, Mo looked confused, not understanding a word. But unfortunately for Leon, Rose Weir, who had been leaning against the door the whole time, overheard everything and quickly shot back with a question. "What if I'm the one she turns out like?" This startled Leon Cosmos, making him want to disappear. He hurriedly denied it. "It's nothing." Seeing Rose appear, Moan proudly showed off what she had done. "Great Mother, I helped Dad wrap his wound just like you taught me." But Rose didn't find that too important. With a serious tone, she said, That's something you should be doing. You'll need to try harder next time." To make her mother happy, Moan was full of spirit and obedient. Yes, great mother. Watching this, he thought to himself, what a strict mother. Then he gently said to Moan, "Moan, go hide in the garden. I'll count to 100 and then I'll come find you, okay?" Excited about playing with Leon, Moan eagerly asked, "Really? You want to play hide and seek with me?" Noticing her slight hesitation, he reassured her with a confident tone. "I'm not like your mother. Go on. Hurry up. Seeing her looking a bit confused, he pretended to start counting. 1, 2, 3. Ah, don't count so fast. Moan complained as she ran off. He counted to 5, then watched her run far away. Once it was just the two of them, Leon turned to her and asked, "Hey, you." Surprised by his tone, she asked, "What is it?" Ignoring her response, he asked, "Why are you being so strict with her?" Rose sat down gently, crossed her legs, and explained to Leon, "That's how we are in the Dragon Clan. From a young age, we must be strict with our children to raise strong warriors." But Leon disagreed, saying, "She's not completely a dragon, you know. And besides, with how cute she is, how could you be so harsh?" She coldly responded, "The fact that she's cute means nothing when it comes to a dragon." Hearing this, Leon wasn't bothered at all and teased Rose. "Well, you're pretty cute too." His teasing made Weir look at him with a dangerous glare. She quickly grabbed his collar and pulled him toward her. Furious, she snapped at Leon, "You're just a slave for me to vent my anger on. Stop trying to act all high and mighty giving lectures." Realizing he'd gone too far, Leon reluctantly agreed, muttering, "Oh, all right." Seeing his obedient response, she was satisfied and released him, saying, "As long as you understand, I am the queen of the Silver Dragon Clan, and there's a lot I need to handle. The babysitting task is yours." Taking advantage of the moment, Rose Weir wrapped her arms around Leon, taking a little liberty. "That child really likes you," she whispered in his ear. The scene shifted to a garden in the palace, where countless vibrant flowers were in full bloom. Leon walked alone, looking for something, thinking to himself, "As the Dragon King, I'm always so busy." It's like how a dragon slayer has a responsibility to take care of their child. Leon was searching for Moan while mimicking Weir's words. As he looked around, he spotted a small figure that looked very much like Moan. The girl looked so much like Moan that it made him think Moan was a bit too innocent, thinking she could hide behind something and not be noticed. Leon Cosmos walked over and pointed at the little girl, calling out, "I found you, Moan." But then the atmosphere became a bit awkward as they both fell silent. This made Leon worried. Was the child upset? The girl, who had been mistaken for Moan, seemed cold and expressionless. This wasn't right. Leon quickly apologized. "Moan, I'm sorry. I kept you waiting too long. Dad." Before he could finish, a little girl quickly ran off, leaving Leon shocked. "Moan, what's wrong?" He didn't understand why she was leaving and chased after her in worry. "Why are you running, Moan?" After searching for a while without finding her, Leon grew anxious. "I can't find her. I clearly saw her run this way just now." He couldn't help but think to himself, children's moods are really hard to understand. It's so frustrating, and I couldn't help but think, no wonder Rose Weir left the task of taking care of the kids to me. I scratched my head in frustration, not realizing that behind me, a small figure had already spotted me. As I was deep in thought, Moan rushed up to hug me from behind and happily shouted, "Ha ha, Moan caught Dad." Seeing her appear out of nowhere, I couldn't help but wonder, "Moan, didn't you just run past me a moment ago?" Moan looked confused by my question, her face showing that she didn't understand. She pouted and said, "No, I've been here the whole time. You couldn't find me, so I came running to find you." Her answer caught me off guard, and I hesitated, wondering, could I have mistaken it? Moan wasn't really concerned with my thoughts. She grabbed my hand and pulled me along, excitedly saying, "Dad, I have something I want to show you." I was so caught up in the moment that I didn't even think twice before agreeing. Okay. From a distance, a little girl who looked a lot like Moan watched the scene of us happily interacting, feeling a bit envious. Meanwhile, near the cool and fresh fountain, a small, cute head peeked out, full of joy. The soft scratch of a pencil could be heard from below. Watching Moan happily sit and draw with her colored pencils, the sound of the paper swishing filled the air. Seeing his daughter so joyful, Leon Cosmos simply sat on the ledge, watching her. He smiled, his eyes squinting, as a sense of contentment spread around him. The air was filled with a feeling of peace, like his whole soul was being healed. Having a daughter really was a wonderful thing. Suddenly, he clenched his fist, making a silent promise to himself, "One day, no matter what, I will take you and escape from the claws of that dragon mother." Moan ran over to Leon, excited to show him her drawing like it was a trophy. "Yeah, Dad, look. Moan drew our whole family." Without even looking, Leon quickly praised her. "Emma, Moan, you're so good. No wonder you're my daughter." But then Leon noticed something strange. The family in the picture had changed. It showed him and Rose Weir holding hands with Moan below, also holding hands with another child. Leon raised an eyebrow. "Who is this?" he asked, pointing to the picture and quickly asking his daughter, "Moan, why are there two kids here?" Moan answered casually, "That's my big sister." It hit Leon like a bolt of light and the unexpected news crashing down on him. Moan has an older sister. In his mind, he compared the two children's appearances again. Leon realized he had been led astray. So it wasn't a soul transfer at first. Turns out they were twins. Feeling a headache coming on, he ran his hand through his hair, groaning. In the garden earlier, I saw that child, and it was her. I called her by the wrong name. No wonder she got so upset. Sensing that his father's mood had hit rock bottom, Moan tried to comfort him. Moan thinks she wasn't really angry. She was probably just a little shy since it was her first time beating you. The tribal minister placed his hand on his chin, thinking, actually, you haven't met yet? It's normal to feel unfamiliar. He glanced toward the distant castle, silently cursing his estranged wife. It's all that damn dragon's fault for hiding from me. As for the child, I need to find her and get the truth from her. In Roseweir's study, she was going over documents while the dragon messenger kept calling out beside her. Suddenly, they both heard a sound from outside. It seemed like Roseweir already knew who it was and what was happening. Like an abandoned house with no owner, there was no knock on the door. Leven slammed the door open and shouted at the other person, Roseweir. His sudden outburst made the red dragon flinch in surprise. In contrast to her clueless husband, she remained unnervingly calm. She tucked away the paper and envelope, then coldly asked, where's Moan? Though Avery, he responded in a harsh, clipped tone, ranting right at her. She's off playing with her sister. You get her well. How long were you planning to keep it from me that I have another grown daughter? When he finally realized, she casually replied, didn't you already know? Slamming his hand down on the table, he spoke with a voice full of irritation. I should thank you, shouldn't I? Having a child is hard enough, but you went and had two for me. It's really been too much. Leon Cosmos shouted loudly, the day I return to the Empire, I'll make sure your name gets added to the family registry. Roseweir. Rose smirked, a challenge in her smile, then countered with a question. Oh, you know why I never told you about the existence of my older daughter? Unfazed by the confrontation, Leon arrogantly shot back. Why do I feel like you're jealous of how close I am to Moan and you're purposely not letting her visit her father me? She suddenly asked, confused. Are you in such a hurry to see her? Leon raised his chin, challenging her. That's obvious. Who wouldn't want to see their own daughter? I'm not like you, cold and strict. I still have to build a relationship with her. With a sly smile, Rose put her hand on her chin and looked at him, waiting. She spoke softly, all right, but don't regret it. A moment later, the cozy kitchen appeared. The sound of quick movements filled the air. Holding a knife, Leon seemed pleased with himself. Ha ha, Roseweir, today you'll see. He quickly began slicing some radishes. This was part of Leon Cosmos' plan. He intended to bridge the gap between him and his eldest daughter. The first step was to fill her stomach with delicious food. Proudly, he looked at the pot of food in front of him, feeling victorious. The milk-braised meat that his teen used to make was said to be delicious, with a sweet flavor that suited kids perfectly. Seeing the consistency of the broth, Leon assessed to himself, not bad. My cooking skills haven't declined. Noah's favorite food was always the dishes made by her father. Encouraged by Moan, Leon felt on top of the world. With a confident smile, he said, this flavor will definitely win Noah over. As he laughed in a goofy way, the maids, though confused, couldn't help but feel happy. Even though Leon Cosmos looked a bit crazy now, the maid with the straight bangs complimented, Royal Prince just recovered from illness and already is in the kitchen for his family. Truly, a dragon who knows how to take care of his loved ones. One of the maids suddenly noticed Leon coming, accompanied by Rose, No, and Moan. They bowed their heads. Oh, Queen Her Majesty. Knowing Leon's plan, she instructed the servants, you don't need to serve dinner tonight. Go and rest. The maids replied, thank you, Her Majesty. Inside, seeing the three of them enter, Leon walked to the dining table that had already been set. Ah, you all came at the perfect time. Moan rushed over to him, her voice as sweet as sugar, complimenting Dad. It smells amazing. Leon quickly responded, I heard you kids like meat the most, especially making stews and boiling bones for her children. Confident that he had the upper hand, he looked at the little girl. No, can't you feel what your father is thinking? But Noah coldly turned away, leaving Leon in shock. His plan had failed, and he was deeply disappointed. Why is it so different from what I imagined? Furiously, he glared at Rose, grinding his teeth. This damn female dragon must have already planned this. That's why she wouldn't let me meet No. Ignoring him, she patted No's shoulder and said to the girl, now that you're officially meeting, go ahead, introduce yourself. The girl obediently responded, yes, mother. Standing in front of the other person, Noa put her hands on her hips and introduced herself. I am the eldest daughter of Silver Dragon Queen Roseweir No Melcy, 1 year and 2 months old. The twins were old enough to explain that. Since dragons are an immortal race, dragon children mature much faster than human children. Levan made another attempt to connect, stepping closer to build a bond between himself and his eldest daughter. He greeted her politely, hoping to leave a good impression. Leon reached out his hand with a friendly gesture. Hello, No, my name is Leon Cosmos. I'm your dad. But No didn't seem to care. Oh. Feeling rejected, Levan felt a wave of helplessness. Why is this kid so cold? Does she have something against me? Moan held No's hand, acting a bit meaty. Sis, talk a little more. Don't make Dad feel awkward. But Noah just kept going. Just by looking at him, he seems weak. Is he really our dad? He looks so weak. It felt like a slap to the face and a stab to the heart for Leon. The words cut deep, making him feel as if he was about to bleed out. For the first time, Leon felt the weight of danger. Looking at his picky daughter, he couldn't help but sneer. Such a loving child. In a warm dining room, the family of four was supposed to be enjoying their meal together, sharing happy moments, but instead it turned into the most painful time for Leon. Leon smiled weakly at the two girls, only they seemed at ease. Moan pushed the plate of meat toward her sister, speaking in a soft, whiny voice. Sis, can you cut it for me? No calmly took it. Them. He quietly assessed the situation. The two girls looked alike, but their personalities were worlds apart. He watched Noah quietly cutting her meat, while Moan eagerly waited for her turn. After a moment, he commented, moreover, it's clear that No takes after her mother. Leon clasped his hands and smiled, trying to probe a little. No, do you like the food today? She slowly replied, oh, it's fine. Each word felt like a knife stabbing into his heart. Suddenly, Rose couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. She quickly covered her mouth, but her eyes still showed teasing. Moan saw her mother laugh and turned to ask, Great mother, why are you so happy? Rose smiled and answered, your father hasn't had an easy time reuniting with our family. Seeing him happy makes me happy too. She shot a playful look at Leon, propping her chin, and asked, Isn't that right, Leon? Why are you smiling? Leon helplessly forced a laugh. Ha ha. Being with family, of course, makes me happy. Then you'll have dinner with me every day, right, Dad? Moan immediately stood up, excited, holding up her fork with a piece of meat still on it, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him. He was caught off guard, unsure how to respond, silently thinking to himself, I have no interest in eating dinner with that little dragon every day. No. Noah's voice was firm and childish, her face serious. Why? Moan asked, disappointed, looking at her sister. Noah slowly continued eating while replying. Because I want to go to the academy and join the dragon kindergarten class. Rose's expression turned serious. She asked the girl seriously, but the kindergarten class at the academy is for dragons aged 4 to 5. Why do you want to join so early? Noah answered with firm determination, her voice steady. Because I want to defeat the dragon slayers. As soon as she finished speaking, Leon jumped, startled, and began coughing uncontrollably. He quickly wiped his mouth with a napkin, feeling uneasy, as if she was planning to defeat him, her own father. Leon smiled, trying to stay calm as he gently advised. Dragon slayers are all very strong, no. You're still so small, you could get hurt. Don't think I'm a kid. The girl crossed her arms and looked down at him with a proud expression. Leon felt a wave of panic rise in his chest. Well, you are a kid. Rose's face hardened and she crossed her arms tighter. Her voice remained calm but firm as she said, I actually think Noah's idea makes sense. The sooner she starts school, the sooner she'll be ready to face the dragon slayers. She gave Leon a challenging look. Right, Leon? Or do you have another reason for trying to stop Noah from going to school? The question hit him hard, making him grit his teeth in frustration, unable to respond. Leon frowned, thinking to himself, if I keep opposing her, Noah will definitely start hating you more as a father. I have to change her mind quietly. With that, he pretended to eat slowly and answer awkwardly, under his daughter's watchful gaze. No reason. As he chewed, he watched Rosie happily and silently fumed. Damn it, I know what this is. That dragon girl is trying to attack my mind while I'm eating. In his mind, he pictured the terrifying image of Rose Weir, as if she were about to devour him alive. Furious, a fire of anger surged within him. Wait, Rose Weir, I'll show you, he muttered. Despite his growing rage, Weir remained calm and spoke without a hint of concern. If your father has no objections, then let's decide on that. Green Academy's entrance exam is in 1 month, and during this time, your father will prepare you. Upon hearing this, the girl's eyes lit up and she looked determined. Yes, mother. After dinner, Weir immediately stood up. Next to her, Moan patted her round belly, smiling proudly at her sister. Look, my belly's as round as a ball. Noah gently placed her small hand on the tight belly, giving it a soft rub. Suddenly, Leon's voice called out, Hey, Rose. She turned to look at him. Annoyed, he pointed at the pile of dishes they had just used. These plates haven't been cleared yet. Rose gave him a confused look and replied, visibly irritated. That's something the servants can take care of. Leon chuckled, tapped Weir on the shoulder, and gently reminded her. Usually, couples clean up and wash the dishes together so that the family dinner can officially come to an end. He leaned close to her ear and asked provocatively, Aren't you trying to create a harmonious family atmosphere in front of the kids, even if it's just for show? Rose met Moan's hopeful gaze as soon as she heard that. Not wanting to disappoint her daughter, she sighed and agreed. All right, That was all Moen needed to hear. She quickly raised her hand. I want help too. Before she could finish, a small hand reached out. Noah immediately grabbed Moen's dress and pulled her away. Come on, ignoring Moen, who was struggling and shouting in protest. Sister, where are we going? A little while later, all the dishes were washed and cleaned. At the sink, Rose Weir, with a cold expression, took off her apron and angrily asked, When are you going to help me? Leon didn't answer right away. Instead, he calmly asked her back, Rose Weir, have you forgotten what I told you 2 years ago? Never be alone with the strongest dragon slayer who has undergone strict training. As soon as he finished speaking, Rose's body froze. She couldn't move. The mark on her chest suddenly glowed. She panicked and shouted, Leon, what do you want to do? His expression hardened, his presence growing cold. He spoke seriously. Before, when I traveled a long distance and my strength was low, another woman sealed the mark and played with it in her palm. But things are different now. Don't think that just because you use this trick, you can escape. Rose Weir screamed, breaking free from Leon's hold. She quickly used her tail to strike. He reacted swiftly, blocking the attack with his hand. Who said I want to escape? His hand tightened around her tail. As he stood up, she suddenly let out a cry, her face flushed. That familiar sensation stirred within her. This brat, even though he seemed weak, was now kneeling down. Leon confidently moved closer to Rose, his tone filled with threat. His hand continued to squeeze her tail. Out of energy already, he taunted. Queen, your majesty, the effect of the dragon's mark makes your tail extremely sensitive. With me squeezing it, you're like a little cat, helpless and trapped. Rose trembled while he continued speaking. This is the knowledge I discovered from the Dragon Clan's books, you know. He leaned closer to Weir's trembling face, each word dripping with menace. Rose Weir, your ambitions to conquer, your desire to control everything. But have you ever been conquered? The moment he spoke, panic flooded Weir's eyes, completely exposed. Rose Weir's heavy breaths echoed in the dark room. She shuddered, turned her head, and weakly pleaded with Leon. Let go of my tail. He gripped her tail, his voice seething with a hatred he could barely contain, as if savoring every moment of his torment. Since I woke up, you've been trampling on my dignity, treating me like a toy. Consider tonight as a small taste of what you've put me through. His voice was arrogantly taunting. She could no longer tolerate his endless boundary-pushing rambling, and in her fury, she screamed, Leon, you bastard! Suddenly, a noise came from the door. Both of them froze and turned toward it. Outside, two maids were giggling and chatting, whispering to each other. I wonder if Queen, your majesty's little session after dinner is over yet. The two people opened the door. Inside was a clean, shiny kitchen that surprised both of them. One of the maids couldn't help but say, Wow, it's really clean in here. The other maid asked, Is this how Royal Prince does it? The maid with her hair tied up took a carefully washed plate, smiling brightly and showing it to her companion. Through the crack in the door, Leon carefully observed the actions of the two maids, his mind racing. He turned around, grabbed Rose's chin with one hand, and reminded her, Quiet, don't say a word. Queen, in such a small space, every movement feels intimate. Her face flushed red. He continued, You wouldn't want the maids outside to find out that their usually dignified queen is acting like this, would you? On the other side of the door, the voices of the maids grew louder. She had no choice but to stay silent, though her eyes, sharp like a knife, kept glaring at him. Unbothered by her anger, Leon tightened his grip on her chin. Enjoying the moment, he pressed his face against her cheek, praising her. Well done. Now let's begin. My beloved wife is hiding something from me. Leon smiled triumphantly, a cold and satisfied laugh escaping his lips. He looked down at Rose's face, which had turned pink from his words, but she didn't respond. She simply met his gaze with a look of resigned acceptance. 3 days later, one morning at the castle, Moen's innocent question broke the silence. It's been 3 days. Is Dad dead? He still hasn't woken up. Leon lay motionless on the bed. The two girls approached him, and Moen asked with concern. However, Noah was calm and responded, You'll know if you try. Quickly, she used her tiny foot to kick him hard in the face. Leon winced in pain and yelled out, Ah, that hurts. It really hurts. Noah kept her foot pressed against his face, nodding as if reaching a conclusion. He's still alive. Leon silently endured, groaning, Is this how you treat your father? Finally, he opened his eyes, muttering a faint and then blinked as if he had just woken up. Ah! Moen exclaimed in joy when she saw this. She turned to Rose Weir, who was standing on the other side, and happily reported the news. Great, Mother, Dad's awake now. Beside them, Leon was exhausted, propping himself up. He asked, confused, When did I pass out? Weir crossed her arms and shot him a cold glance, her voice sharp. Do you need me to help you remember? He was startled, quickly recalling the events of that day. It all came back to him. After that night, the dragon's mark lost its power. He had truly taken a blow from her. Memories flooded back, and the image of that slap and impact, so fierce, was crystal clear in his mind. He slowly swung his legs off the bed, eyes fixed on the woman adjusting her clothes, his heart filled with resentment. That dragon is ruthless. A regular person would have been dead by now under her claws. But as he watched Weir opening the door to let the sunlight in, her delicate features glowing in the morning light, a strange thought crossed his mind. Looking closely, she really was quite beautiful, especially for a dragon over 200 years old. Why is Dad not moving? Moan's sudden question, in her soft voice, snapped him out of his wandering thoughts. No, noticing his expression, immediately understood, and clearly displeased, answered her younger sister. He stared at Great Mother, almost in awe. After Rose opened the window, she placed her hand on the table, awkwardly knocking something off. She was briefly surprised. Dueling glanced down to pick it up, but a large hand grabbed it first. Leo, put it in your hair, he said with a gentle smile, looking at Rose. This suits you. The quick movement caught her off guard, and her eyes widened as she stared at him. But it didn't last long. She quickly regained her cold and proud demeanor, looking at him with disdain and asking, I didn't expect you to be so thoughtful. You might have done this for any other girl, have you? Leon, hearing this, felt utterly helpless and annoyed as he replied, Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to brush the hair of the monks' donkeys, so they were pretty well behaved. Moan walked over, her big eyes curious as she asked him, Dad, what's a donkey? At her expectant look, he immediately went into teacher mode. A donkey is kind of like a dragon, you know. It has 2 ears, a tail, and it's really stubborn. If it's unhappy, it likes to make a grunting sound. As he spoke, he used his hands to demonstrate, much to Moan's delight. Just like mother and daughter, as soon as he said that, Rose shot him a quick glance. In the blink of an eye, she rushed over and elbowed him in the stomach. Grabbing her belly in pain, she screamed out, Ah! Moan, worried, asked, Dad, are you okay? Her small hand reached up to check if he was hurt. In front of her was No's little face, coldly observing. He was bent over in pain, holding his stomach, but still trying to appear fine. I'm okay, Dad. Your job today is to teach us how to write our names. I'll be the one to teach you guys. Finally, Rosa's voice broke through, her stern gaze landing on the 2 little ones. Levin's loud protest tried to squeeze in. You're assigning tasks to me again without asking. Yeah, Dad is going to teach us to write. Moan said excitedly, her face beaming as she spread her arms wide, clearly thrilled. On the other hand, No grumbled under her breath. I can write by myself. Before she could finish, Moan grabbed her sister's hand and rushed toward the study, eagerly saying, Sis, let's go pick out some pretty pens in the study. Moan then asked again, Sis, what color do you want? Although No seemed uninterested, she answered just to make a point, purple. The room was left with just the 2 adults. Rose Weir spoke sharply, warning Leon, My sister will be visiting today. I would expect you to appear in front of her. Hearing this, Leon furrowed his brows and mocked, Why? Don't want me to meet your family? She stepped closer, smirking as she whispered in his ear, Liam Cosmos. Right now, you're just a dragon living with the Silver Dragon clan as a son-in-law. You've been in a coma for 2 years due to some illness and only just woke up recently. If you absolutely must appear, you'll follow the role I've assigned to you. As she spoke, Rose lightly tapped his chest, looking at him defiantly. Her provocative words made him uncomfortable, but he had no retort. In the end, he gave a reluctant glance and said, Got it, Your Majesty. After her slender figure left the room, Leon's expression darkened. He felt irritated and muttered to himself, Ha! Does this dragon really think I'll just obey her orders? A dark, calculating smile spread across the room. Rose Weir, I'll make you embarrass yourself right in front of your sister. At the Silver Dragon Sanctuary in the children's study, surrounded by bookshelves and a large window, soft sunlight poured in, filling the room with light. Do exactly what I just showed you, pay attention now. Leland's voice echoed through the quiet space. He held a pen in his hand, carefully writing, while Moan, her little tail wagging, stayed focused, listening intently. No, on the other hand, remained silently watching. As Leon wrote, he pointed at the letters. Like this, he said. Now I'll write both of your names at the top. You two try to copy it and write it a few times. He slid 2 sheets of paper toward them. Moan immediately sat up, her eyes full of interest, while Noah just folded her arms, showing little reaction. Noah took the paper, glancing at it, then casually commented, It's not as pretty as Mom's writing. Hearing that, Leon, holding back his frustration, replied, Hey, I've got work to do. Moan, noticing him stand up, asked curiously, Where are you going, Dad? Leon smiled softly and said, I forgot to give something to your mom earlier. I need to go return it to her. Double. Leon quickly rushed out the door, calling back inside, Wait for me to come check on you when I get back. Moan waved him off with a smile, while Noah gave him a disapproving look and quietly asked, Is he stupid? Moan was about to respond playfully, but seeing that her sister seemed to be in good mood, Noah turned away coldly. Never mind, just write quickly. However, No's flushed face and bright eyes staring at the paper Leon had just written betrayed her youthful innocence. At the entrance to the Silver Dragon Cathedral, a majestic figure with fiery red hair walked in, flanked by guards and attendants. It was Queen Red Dragon, Asak Melkov. She carried herself with an air of elegance, her red hair and eyes glowing brilliantly. Her haughty demeanor only added to her regal presence. As soon as she arrived, Rose ran to her and embraced her warmly, greeting her with excitement. "Sister, it's been so long." Isak calmly glanced at her younger sister. "It's been a year. You look much healthier now." Rose shyly touched her cheek, speaking in a playful tone. "Really? I don't think so." Isak tilted her chin, a questioning look in her eyes. "I heard your husband has woken up. Why isn't he here?" Rose smiled awkwardly, flustered as she tried to explain. "He's not feeling well today, so he can't meet right now." Isak closed her eyes, looking thoughtful. "Oh, really? That's too bad. I was hoping to see what King Dragon looks like when he steals his sister away." With that, she stared at Rose's face for tone probing. "All of King Dragon's partnerships are for power and his clan, not love. But you two got married and had a baby so quickly. Your relationship must be pretty good, huh?" Weir blushed, turning her head to protest, snapping back at her sister. "Just because we got married and had a kid, does that mean we're in a great relationship? I'm telling you, I don't have feelings for him. Not now, and not ever." Isak seemed to read her mind. She already knew the answer and smiled softly. Still so stubborn, just like before. All right. We haven't seen each other in so long. Let's go for a walk in the garden and chat." Weir linked arms with her sister, giving a mischievous wink mixed with a bit of flattery, then suggested, "Shall we?" In the distance, the image of the two sisters laughing and talking happily was captured in the viewfinder. Is she really Rose Weir's sister? Leon asked himself as he carefully studied through binoculars. He lowered the binoculars and smiled, a devious look in his eyes that let me test how far the dragon mark's influence really goes. The two girls walked into the garden, admiring the blooming roses. Isak calmly shared some information with his sister. Recently, the Dragon Clan's territory hasn't been very stable, especially with King Dragon Crimson Flame. That kid's been making a lot of noise lately. An image of a fierce fire dragon flashed in Weir's mind. She tensed up, thinking, is it Constantine? Hasn't he been hiding for a long time? Her face suddenly grew serious, and she asked with doubt, could it be him? Isak crossed his arms and hesitated before answering. Who knows? He's always been impulsive. Maybe he's trying to take advantage of the situation to expand his territory. Suddenly, a jolt of energy ran through her, causing Rose Weir's mark to glow with a faint purple light. She looked down in shock, her eyes widening in panic. What's happening? Isak noticed her change and quickly turned to her. She instinctively covered the mark on her chest with her hands. Flustered, she responded, No, nothing. Please continue. That cursed dragon slayer. Rose turned her gaze toward the castle. She couldn't help but think of Leon, grinning smugly over what he had done to her. She silently cursed him in her heart. Isak, with his usual calm tone, continued the discussion. To be on the safe side, we need to reinforce the border defenses. If there's any movement over there, I'll have someone contact you. But Rose wasn't paying attention. Her face was burning with discomfort, and she wasn't hearing a word. The dragon's mark was growing stronger and stronger. If this continued, she would shrink into herself, trembling, her mind racing with thoughts. Isak turned to her, noticing something was wrong. Concerned, he asked, Rose, are you really okay? Your face is all red. Rose was extremely embarrassed. She avoided his gaze, replying with trembling shoulders, Sister, I just suddenly remembered there's something urgent I need to take care of, maybe. She bit her lip and muttered, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Isak waved his hand to signal that it was fine. Go ahead. Do you need me to go with you? Rose quickly ran off, not forgetting to shout back at her. No, I'm good. Isak smiled slyly, his gaze lingering on his sister's retreating figure as if he had already figured something out. A dragon mark, huh? Kids these days are really going all out. Rose Weir, now I want to see how long you can hold out. His voice sounded teasing as he leaned back in his chair, casually propping his feet up to relax. Leon, Weir's piercing scream filled the room. She slammed the door open and rushed in. Leon jerked his head around in surprise, eagerly saying, Oh, you're back already? Did you intentionally make the dragon mark react now, trying to embarrass me in front of my sister? Rose's eyes widened in fury as she grabbed the collar of his shirt, her voice dripping with anger. Leon froze at her intensity, unsure of how to react. He decided to play innocent for now. After a moment, Leon pouted, his eyes sparkling as he looked at her, his voice sweet and playful, asking in a teasing tone, Is it really my fault I remember you too? Rose was taken aback by Leon's response. Loosen your collar, he said. What did you say? A moment later, her head felt like it was about to explode. Her face turned as red as a ripe tomato, unable to believe what she had just heard. Looks like it worked, huh? At least now she feels disgusted, he said smugly, watching her try to hide her burning face with her hands. After a few seconds, she regained her composure, turned her face, and yelled back, stammering, "How shameless! Why are you, a defeated prisoner, saying such trash? Take back your words." Clearly, she'd come to handle him. How could his words make him so scared? She scowled at Leon, who was standing casually with his arms crossed, smiling, which made her have to comfort herself. In the end, she put on a calm expression, smirked coldly, and warned, "Humph, you're lucky this time. But next time, I will let you off." What Weir didn't know was that behind him, Leon was secretly playing around, quietly mocking him. I supposed to be scared, but even then, his face turned red, stroking his chin proudly, enjoying himself. Just a simple flirt was enough to make her feel weak and nervous like that. The power of the dragon mark is really something. Suddenly, he touched his chest, feeling his heart race with each beat, and thought to himself, "But why does my heart speed up so much when I think of her face?" "Leon, get a grip. Stop thinking about that nonsense." The moment the thought crossed his mind, he shouted, slapping his cheek to snap out of it. "Kids are still waiting for me." In the study, Noah was diligently practicing her writing, while Moan, growing bored, sighed, "Why hasn't Dad come back yet?" At the gate of the Silver Dragon Temple, the soldiers stood in neat rows behind Isaac Melkov. "Well, I'll go ahead today." Isaac Melkov waved goodbye to Weir. Behind her, fiery red wings sprouted. Rose Weir smiled. One hand crossed over her chest, while the other waved goodbye. "All right, be careful on the road." At that moment, Isaac Melkov transformed into her dragon form. Her dragon was a deep blood red, surrounded by a powerful red aura. She spoke to Weir. "Next time, you have to show me your husband," she said. Weir nodded in agreement. All right, next time," he replied. Then, Isaac Melko and the Dragon Clan Knights transformed into dragons, soared into the sky, leaving Weir behind. The moment they flew off, Rose Weir's expression immediately changed. She looked angry. Grinding her teeth in frustration, she thought, "Dragon Slayer, is it not enough that I taught you a lesson? Tonight, I'll teach you a proper one." At the same time, Leon, sitting in his room, suddenly sneezed. It seemed that talking badly about someone really could make them sneeze. He thought, "That dragon woman insulted me." He rubbed his nose with his hand and wondered, are they all asleep now? Looking at the two little girls sleeping peacefully, he closed the book he had been reading and quietly walked over to Moan and No's bedside to tuck them in. He gently pulled the blanket over them and whispered, "Don't let yourself get cold." Then Leon carefully tiptoed to the door, trying to close it softly so the girls would wake up. But before he could do anything, Weir suddenly appeared behind him. She slammed her hand hard against the door right in front of Leon, making him jump. He turned around and saw her, her face looking displeased. She asked in a stern voice, "Where do you think you're going?" Leon Cosmos knew he was in trouble. Scared, he quickly changed the subject. "Did your sister leave?" Rose smirked, her smile almost mischievous. She replied, We still have unfinished business today, don't we?" Before he could respond, she grabbed the back of his shirt collar and dragged him along helplessly. She said loudly, "Follow me." Leon struggled and pleaded, "Please don't." She pulled him into the Silver Dragon Queen's bedroom, a space decorated in white and gold, giving off an elegant and royal vibe. Leon Cosmos brought in a basin of hot water and set it down on the carpeted floor. Rolling up his sleeves, he knelt down, looking up at Weir and asking, "The hot water's ready. What do you need it for?" Weir was sitting on the bed, her legs crossed, and extended her hand toward him, giving an order. "I've been out all day and I'm tired. Help me wash my feet." Leon looked at her confused. "What?" She looked down at him with an annoyed expression. "Just say less and do what you're told," she snapped. "This is the punishment for what you did today." Liam looked frustrated. He took off her shoes, gently lifted her foot, and thought to himself, "Great, I'm a dragon slayer, and here I am, a slave, washing this dragon's feet." There was no other choice. He had to do it. This blasted dragon knew how to enjoy herself. These feet had probably stepped on countless corpses of dragon slayers. He kept thinking while staring at Rose's soft feet as he removed her white socks. She looked at him surprised, wondering, why is he staring at my feet? Does he have some kind of weird fetish? Weir's mind wandered, his face turning red as he thought about it. Suddenly, he grabbed both her feet and dumped them into the water with a swift motion, making her jump. He grinned and shouted, "Hey, dip them in." Her soft feet soaked to the hot water, turning a reddish hue. "Ah, it's so hot!" Weir jerked his feet back instinctively, and in doing so, Rose accidentally kicked him square in the mouth. Leon's head snapped back, a bit of blood coming from his mouth. Rose had landed a solid kick, sending him falling hard to the floor from the force. Well, Leon, you're trying to get back at me, aren't you?" At that moment, Rose was clearly furious. She got off the bed and stomped on the same spot on his chest where she had kicked. Leon grinned, looking up at her playfully. Hey, you're the one who made me wash your feet. That only made Rose angrier. Her face was still flushed. She shot back. Looks like you still haven't learned your lesson. Do you think you wouldn't pay for this? She pressed her damn foot down onto his stomach and said, a dragon can crush anything it wants. Her foot began to move lower, making Leon instinctively tense up and shut his eyes. He curled up and shouted, oh, stop. Stop the foot. Leon grit his teeth, barely lifting his head, opening one eye to look at Rose, his face red. In his mind, he thought, damn it. This awkward, weirdly humiliating feeling. I should have known Rose Weir would do something like this. She laughed triumphantly, tilting her head as she looked down at Leon with a mischievous smile. Her foot was still pressed against him, her toes playfully moving as if testing his limits. She continued, Humph, let's see how long you can last. Leon blushed from embarrassment, but refused to back down. He couldn't afford to be defeated by the dominance of a dragon woman. Reaching out, he grabbed Weir's ankle and sat up with a sly grin on his face. I've tried pig's feet, cow's feet, even goat's feet, but never a dragon's. Weir froze, caught off guard. What are you trying to do now? She asked suspiciously. Without hesitation, Liam leaned forward and gave her foot a playful bite, his expression full of satisfaction, as if he had just discovered a rare delicacy. Fresh dragon feet for tonight's menu, he said, still playfully gnawing. Leo and CSMOs, I swear I'll end you. She screamed, her voice echoing across the palace walls. The next morning, little Moan and No woke up, still groggy, and muttered, Great mother, Mom, what happened to your leg? The little girl asked Rose Weir, noticing that one of her legs was bandaged and not wearing a sock. She crossed her arms, looking irritated, and replied, It's nothing. Moan turned to Leon and asked, Dad, why do you have bruises on your face? Leon, equally annoyed, stood with his arms crossed and said, It's nothing. Moan looked confused, hands on her hips. She stared at Leon and Weir, and then her eyes suddenly lit up. She raised her hand and said, as if she had just figured something out, Oh, you two must have been playing some fun game behind Moan's back, right? I want to join too. Noah, standing nearby, watched in silence, helpless, saying nothing. In the flower garden outside the Silver Dragon Temple, Liam Casmos and Rose Weir were taking a walk. Though they were walking together, there was a noticeable distance between them. Neither of them said a word, just walking forward. The servants in the distance couldn't help but admire them. Look, the queen and the royal prince are on a date, a short-haired maid said with a smile. Ha ha, so romantic, another maid replied. But the first maid, being observant, noticed there was something off between the two of them. Your Majesty, you seem a bit distant from royal prince, of what you think. You're right. On Rose and Leon's side, it's been very quiet. They haven't said a word to each other. All she did was coldly stare ahead. Leon glanced away, not saying anything to her. He walked behind her, frowning and asking himself, Why has it turned out like this? Isn't it because I wanted to find out the truth, and to do that, I had to go back a bit in time. Back then, after hearing Rose's words, Leon had panicked. What? A walk? Why would I go for a walk with you? She frowned, crossed her arms, and didn't look the least bit willing to go with him. Sometimes pretending to be a happy family in front of outsiders is something you need to do. Back in the present, as the two of them walked through the garden, Leon watched her figure ahead of him, still confused about why she was acting like this. Rose seemed a bit different today. Normally, she wouldn't be this proactive. What was her real intention? Moan and No, hiding behind a tree at a distance, peeked at the two of them and couldn't help but complain. How silly, he doesn't even know how to hold her hand. As the beloved daughter, Moan decided to step in and solve the problem. Moan will help them. That made No panic, and she tried to stop her. Wait, let them be alone. Before she could finish, her little sister quickly ran over to the two of them. The girl excitedly called out, Great mother, Dad. Both of them turned their attention to her when they heard the call. Leon saw the girl and asked, Moan, why did you come out here? Moan didn't say anything. She held her dad's hand with her left hand and her mom's with her right. Without hesitation, she placed their hands together and cheerfully said, You're supposed to hold hands when you go for a walk, right? Having completed her task, the girl turned and ran off. Moan's going to find Big Sister to play now. Leon watched Moan's disappearing figure, a bit speechless. Where did she even learn all of this? But what he didn't know was that Moan was about to get a lesson from No. The girl cried out in pain, begging, Wah, Moan was wrong. I won't do it again. Please, Big Sister, let go. Both of them, realizing what Moan's goal had been, blushed. Leon quickly looked away and asked, This is a bit unexpected. What should we do now? Rose shyly replied, No, it's fine. We can just hold hands like this. Still, the two couldn't help but tease each other for a while. You're being so gentle today. I'm not used to it, he said. Hearing him, she confidently responded, Looks like I've tamed you. Now that I'm being nice to you, you're the one who's not used to it. He glanced at the woman next to him and thought to himself, in front of others, Rose always maintains this queen-like image, but it turns out she's shaken by just a handhold. Noticing the awkward atmosphere lingering for too long, Levin decided to speak up first. By the way, Moen and Nova always call you mother in front of me. When she heard that, Rose raised an eyebrow and asked, is there a problem with that? Leon was direct in sharing his thoughts. Well, think about it. Normally, you'd hear father with mother. Moen always calls me father, but he calls you mother. Doesn't that show they're not as close to you? Rose didn't respond. She just shyly looked away, avoiding eye contact. Is it really that big of a deal to be called mother instead? He asked. Hearing her comment, he smiled and sincerely offered his advice. Of course, or maybe, you should try having them call you mom. I bet they get closer to you than they are now. Each word he said immediately touched Weir's heart. It made her blush for a moment, her eyes wide as she looked at Leon. She lost her composure and quickly walked ahead. I got it. I'll try that next time. Leon, surprised by her sudden pace, hurried to catch up and asked, Hey, why are you walking so fast all of a sudden? The two of them slowly made their way toward the distant castle. Under the golden sunlight, she suddenly asked, Hey, Leon, do you miss home? He answered casually, Why are you asking this all of a sudden? Anyway, you never sent me back. She then explained the purpose of bringing him to the castle. I can't send you home, but there's something here that might help ease your homesickness. That caught him off guard. Huh. They stood before a large, intricately carved black gate leading into the warehouse behind the sacred mountain. Levin stared up at the giant gate in surprise. Where is this? Weir calmly pulled out a keychain and replied, Well, I haven't named it yet. She took out a key, inserted it into the lock, and said to him, This is the storage room, a place for everything. The heavy door creaked open slowly, releasing a cloud of dust that had settled untouched for years. She added, Anything at all. Rose Weir stepped in first. Leon, visiting such a strange and mysterious place for the first time, couldn't help but be in awe as he looked around. A dragon's treasure trove, he murmured, his eyes catching sight of a jade bracelet resting on a distant shelf. Unable to resist, he stepped closer, marveling at its beauty. This alone could fetch dozens of gold coins back in the Empire. From behind him, she spoke. That bracelet was a gift from my mother during my coming-of-age ceremony. Weir crossed her arms and added in a steady tone, Inside this room, aside from the spoils of war, there are a few items that hold deep personal meaning to me. Leon, surprised, turned slightly and said, Really? Besides your sister, I've never heard you talk about any other family. She answered honestly, I've never met my parents. My sister and I were raised by our grandmother. Hearing her share a part of her past, Leon felt a quiet understanding form between them. Slowly, he found himself wanting to open up and began to tell her his story too. It's just like me. I grew up in an orphanage, never met my parents. It was my master and his wife who adopted me. But you still haven't forgotten the reason Weir brought you here. Still, what exactly do you want me to see by bringing me here? Rose Weir also recalled her purpose. She bent down and pulled a large chest from a distance, bringing it closer and said, As I told you earlier, it's something that can make you temporarily forget your troubles. Liam looked into the chest and was stunned. Dark steel battle armor. Seeing the shiny black armor in the room, Rose asked him, Lena, you've always wanted to get this armor back, right? Her question struck deep into his heart. He didn't hide his emotions, sitting down straight to get a better look at the familiar armor. Tears welled up in his eyes. Am I dreaming? Are you really giving this to me? Rose Weir smiled mysteriously, pretending to answer him, Yes, that's right. He reached out and gently touched the armor. Immediately, a surge of energy flowed from it, revealing a complex symbol that quickly knocked him back. Liam was astonished. Liam exclaimed, Dragon Sigle enchantment. He couldn't believe it and thought to himself, Dark steel battle armor, my good friend, how could you have fallen this far? Seeing his shocked expression, exactly as she had planned, Weir darkened her face and surrounded herself with an air of death, then coldly declared, Ha ha, you've finally fallen into my trap, Liam. She even kindly gave him a little extra information, explaining that the Dragon Sigle enchantment had been enhanced to be twice as effective. Then she bent down, lifted his chin, and asked, Well then, my dear Dragon Slayer, can you handle this? Rose looked down from above with a smug, arrogant gaze, her face holding a challenging smile as she observed Liam Casmo's expression. He was struggling, feeling a pressure from the heavy magical aura beneath his feet, and a seal appeared on his chest. Panicking, he asked, What are you doing, Rose Weiser? Weir's face was filled with excitement as a similar seal appeared on her chest. She explained, I added the enhanced Dragon Sigle enchantment to your armor. As soon as you touch it, it activates. After hearing this, Leon realized there was no way to fight back anymore. Leon collapsed to the floor with a sharp gasp. Ah! His whole body trembled. his face twisted in discomfort as he clenched his teeth. He reached out to touch the glowing sigil on his body, cursing under his breath. That wicked girl, I didn't see this coming. Weir smirked, revealing a playful fang. After enhancement, the dragon's sigil enchantment has double the effect. Her slender hand gently brushed against his trembling chin. She leaned in and spoke slowly, teasingly. All right, my dear dragon slayer, how much more can you take? Leon furrowed his brow, sweat pouring down as he struggled to endure the pressure from the enchantment. At her taunt, he reached his limit. His eyes burned with resistance as he growled, R-O-S-E. Weir laughed triumphantly. With full control of the situation, she pushed him back onto the floor, asserting her dominance. Leon's body continued to tremble under the sigil's power, his face flushed from the overwhelming pressure. Though his eyes still showed defiance, his body was clearly paralyzed by the magic. He muttered in his mind, Damn it, I can't move a thing. The effect of the enchantment surged, stronger than before. Taking full advantage, Rose Weir placed both hands on his chest, her eyes gleaming, ready to deliver the final blow. Her face flushed slightly, and she smiled provocatively. Do you really think the whole thing was about you conquering me? I didn't hold a grudge, you know. These past few days, I've been thinking about how to get back at you, how to make you let your guard down. I can't believe you fell for it so easily. Leon stayed in his position, gritting his teeth, his brow furrowed as he said, You evil dragon. Seeing this expression, Weir's excitement grew, her eyes filled with a distant, captivating allure. What do you think? Isn't my acting pretty good? Leon couldn't take it anymore. He shouted angrily at her, Everything you said today was at all a lie. You've never met my parents, yet you're letting Moan and Noah call you mom and even hold your hand. Weir focused on his face, her tone shifting back to seriousness. She honestly denied, No, everything was real, but that doesn't change what I'm doing to you. Leon, as she spoke, Weir began to peel off her thin clothing, her chest gently revealed, teasing the eye. What did you say of me before? In just a few seconds, her upper body was completely bare, her delicate back smooth and white, tempting anyone who looked. Oh, you said I liked to conquer, didn't you? Her eyes were completely caught in the web of infatuation. She smiled with satisfaction and said, Ha ha, you're right. I do enjoy the thrill of conquest. Her beautiful face leaned close to Leon's handsome one, each word coming out like an invitation. Are you ready? My dear husband, she teased. Of course he couldn't resist. He muttered under his breath, damn it. Outside the castle, there was a quiet space entirely detached from the actions of the couple inside. A while later, Leon Cosmos, his eyes vacant, cried like a river. Finally, it was over. Rose Weir propped her head on one hand, delighted as she watched him. Their bodies were still pressed together, bare skin against bare skin. Leon glared at her, eyes sharp with anger. He grumbled, clearly irritated. What are you planning to do? She playfully squeezed his cheeks, making them puff up like dumplings, and smiled mischievously. Compared to 2 years ago, the scars on his face had faded, but he now looked more worn out and tired, though there was a deeper, more mature energy to him. Leon, thoroughly annoyed by her teasing, turned away, crossing his arms and refusing to look at her, his face full of pouting frustration. Humph, keep messing with me, and I won't fall for your tricks again. Of course, Rose was quite pleased with herself. Her smile radiated with intense satisfaction as she pulled her clothes up to cover her body, as if it were a precious jewel. Then she couldn't help but compliment, You're getting smarter now. In the blink of an eye, her clothes were meet, and she softly spoke again, however. Leon Cosmos quickly turned his head, glaring at her with wide eyes. Weir covered his mouth, laughing as if he'd just won a victory. His cheeks were slightly flushed from the recent excitement, and his eyes sparkled with mischief. Your body is no longer the same as before. Leon stared at him, frozen in place. His face showed signs of confusion, as if his mind had fallen into a dark, endless abyss. The words no longer carried the same meaning as before. For a moment, his eyes glazed over, and all he could hear was the sound of thunder in his ears. Seconds passed, and he remained motionless, no longer the same as before. It was so embarrassing that it could be added to an encyclopedia. Leon couldn't accept it, yelling out loudly, No longer the same, no longer the same. The next morning, the early sunlight illuminated the grand castle. Leon opened the door, revealing a tired face, his eyes resembling those of a panda. What is it now? Weir came in, leading No. Her face held a faint, teasing smile as she looked at her favored companion. Good morning, she said with a raised brow and a playful grin. Looks like you didn't sleep well last night, huh? Leon was furious, grinding his teeth to hold back his anger, and all because of the comment she made. Weir smirked, her eyes narrowing in satisfaction. Is that so? I don't even remember. No, feeling annoyed at how childish they both were, sighed and muttered. Here we go again. After a moment of teasing, Weir shifted to a more serious tone and brought up No. The entrance exam for Green Academy is very strict. Starting today, you need to tutor No on the Dragon Clan's knowledge thoroughly. Before Leon could even respond, she leaned in close to his face, whispering with a mischievous edge. Anyway, for now, you'll only be useful in other areas. Furious, Leon clenched his fists in defiance. Damn it, last night was just a bad moment, he declared, trying to sound confident. I'll make sure No passes the exam, but I want something of equal value in exchange from you. Weir's smile turned cold. It's no problem for you, but your request can't be unreasonable. Leon's gaze was intense, hiding who knows what thoughts. He had to keep his word. A moment later, she turned and walked away, laughing happily, without forgetting her usual cleverness. Well, you two go ahead and study. Darling, don't overdo it, okay? Leon was so angry it looked like he might start a rebellion. That damn dragon, can you stop already? No asked calmly. Why is Dad fighting with Mom again? Leon was still upset, but quickly tried to hide it. No, we're just having a normal conversation. Suddenly, a surprised look flashed in his eyes. Wait, hold on. What did you just call her? No replied casually, Mom. Leon felt a spark, his excitement growing. Did she tell you to change how you address her? Do you prefer the old way or the new one? Caught off guard by the question, the little girl turned her face away shyly. The new one? He smiled, clearly pleased. Ha ha, I told you. You kids are definitely going to like it. Noah seemed a little surprised. Her cheeks turned pink, a hint of sweetness showing. But she quickly tried to stay cool and hide it. She turned away. When are we going to start studying? Leon was equally startled. Hey, no, wait for me. That night, inside the Silver Dragon Temple's children's room, which was filled with all sorts of toys and stuffed animals for little kids, Leon sat quietly, his face serious as he stared at the pile of books on the table. From a distance, Rose Weir noticed him still reading, and crossing her arms, she curiously asked, Oh, it's so late. You're still not asleep. He scratched his head with his pen, looking quite troubled, and replied, No has a strong learning ability. Simple stuff doesn't suit her. I plan to filter out the key knowledge and match it with the test questions to teach her. Right now, I can only stay up late and prepare the lesson plan. Thinking about his beloved daughter sleeping soundly, Leon spoke with confidence. Noah is very smart, so I'm confident I can get her through the test in a month. Hearing Leon praise her daughter, Weir couldn't help but feel proud. She smiled smugly and replied, Of course. After all, the Noah is just like me. When Leon heard that, he couldn't let it slide and shot her a look, ready to retort. Leon stood up confidently, proudly showcasing his achievements throughout his school years. I used to be a genius dragon slayer, graduating at the top of both practical and written combat exams every year. All the top scholarships at the school were mine. Then he turned to ask Weir, So, what about you, Your Majesty? What championships have you won? Caught off guard by the question, Weir immediately fell silent. She furrowed her brow in irritation, thinking to herself, I thought he was just a brute who only knew how to fight. Didn't expect him to be such a smart student. But she quickly seized the opportunity to fire back at Leon. Humph, if you're so impressive, why did you end up my prisoner? Leon was caught off guard and immediately lost his temper, shouting, Damn it, I only lost that one time. Leon Cosmos mourned his fate, turning his back to Weir. Tears streamed down his face, grieving the one slip-up that would haunt him forever. The tiger that fell into the dragon's grip, she from behind kept smugly reminding him, You were the one who got ridden by the dragon, remember? Rose Weir noticed a plate full of small orange peppers on the table, feeling curious. Why chili? She didn't quite understand Leon's intentions, so she crossed her arms and asked again, What are you going to do with this? He was on the other side of the table and replied, Oh, this. He smiled, his eyes full of determination, and said, I got it from the kitchen. It's to keep me alert. Before she could respond, he immediately bit it into the chili. Weir quickly raised her hand and shouted, Wait, that's the golden chili from the Dragon Clan. A human like you probably won't be able to handle it. Just as she finished speaking, it was too late. From his stomach, a burning sensation shot up to his face, making Leon's face flush red. The next moment, he experienced what it felt like to literally breathe fire. He was like a fire dragon, exhaling flames and shouting nonstop, It's too hot! His mouth was burning. His whole body felt like it was on fire. Without thinking, he started running around the room, frantically searching through everything and yelling, Water, water! Is there no water here? Seeing Leon in so much pain, Weir grew a bit worried. Without thinking, she reached out to hold his face. This left him utterly stunned. His face turned bright red in an instant as he looked at her hands on his cheeks. Weir wasn't any less flustered. She blushed, turned her face away, and said, My hands are pretty cold. This might make you feel more comfortable. Just as she said, a cold sensation immediately reached Leon's skin, soothing the heat on his face. He closed his eyes, enjoying the feeling, and thought to himself, Rosa's hands are so cold, but it feels really nice to have them on my face. Feeling her slender hand against his skin, he couldn't help but think it's not as cold as ice, but it's gently cold in a comforting way. A little while later, when the heat had finally faded, Leon pulled away from Weir. He awkwardly thanked her. Thanks, I'm fine now. She hesitated before replying, Mem. The atmosphere between them grew awkward. Both of them blushed and turned their heads to avoid making the situation even more uncomfortable. Knowing she couldn't stay much longer, Weir turned to leave, but not without reminding him, go to bed early and don't eat too many chili peppers. If your mouth swells up, you'll have to use sign language to teach no. Liam quickly rubbed his chest to calm himself and answered, I got it. Looking at the figure walking away, he couldn't help but blush as he thought back to what had just happened. Earlier, I actually let her touch my face. It seemed so absurd to him, and suddenly, a chill ran down Leon's spine, making him shiver. Get it together. She's the evil dragon mother. She lured you into a corner, drained you completely, and then blamed you for being weak. Thinking about it again, it felt a bit twisted. He had to find a way to recover his strength quickly. Determined, he immediately began searching through the stack of books on the table in front of him. Turning each page slowly, Leon read through each entry. The twin dragon chain, it regulates blood flow. Not this one. Dueling grass, it aids digestion and can heal wounds. Still not it. Then he came across a page with an image of black pills. They were dragon grand elixirs known for their excellent body recovery properties, balancing yin and yang, nourishing the body, and restoring its functions. He felt a surge of excitement upon finding the item he needed. I found it. This is it. The next morning, outside, the sunlight shone brightly and the greenery was lush and full of life. Inside the room, Leon's voice broke the silence as he asked No, I've finished grading the test you took earlier. The total score is 100. Can you guess how much you got? No responded coldly, as if she had little hope for this test. She quietly replied, 50. Leon smiled and raised the test paper, excited to show her. 62. It's a little higher than what you expected. But contrary to Leon's expectations, No furrowed her brow. Her face looked upset, clearly unhappy with her test results. He noticed this and thought to himself, not satisfied with your score, I can understand. This kid always holds herself to very high standards. Leon looked down at No, who was intently staring at the mistakes on her test. He felt a little pity for her. At an age when most kids are carefree and only focused on playing like Moan, she was the one who had asked to go to school. To encourage her, he bent down, smiled gently, and patted Noah's head, quietly praising her. Getting 62 on your first test is really good. No blushed slightly at the compliment. She quickly responded, Thank you, Dad. Hearing that, knowing the girl's mood had improved, he planned to continue teaching her. Next, let's focus on solving the wrong answers. But before he could finish, a sudden cough broke out. He quickly covered his mouth and coughed a few times. Cough, cough. Leon frowned, rubbing his sore throat, which had been irritated from eating several spicy peppers to stay awake. He quickly apologized to the girl, sorry. Inside, he felt uneasy. He had definitely eaten too many peppers last night. His throat was itching terribly. Noah, seeing her father uncomfortable, couldn't help but recall what Weir had told her while smiling and chatting with her the night before. Your dad was making a study plan for you last night. That guy looks unreliable most of the time, but he's actually a top student. But last night, because he stayed up late, he ate some extremely strong yellow peppers from the Dragon Clan. It's a miracle his throat isn't worse. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, clear and vivid. Noah quietly rummaged through her bag. Then Noah handed him a small blue box, speaking softly, Give this to Dad. He took it, opened it, and was surprised to find several pills inside. He asked in shock, Did you ask for it, Father? Noah responded obediently. Yes, you're doing this for your father, not for me. Leon happily took a pill and thanked the girl. Then, tell your mother I said thank you. In his mind, he happily noted how alike the two of them were. This little girl was just like Rose Weir, cold on the outside, but really she just didn't know how to show kindness. As he let the pill dissolve in his mouth, he felt his strength returning and raised his hand. Let's continue with our lessons. Noah, full of determination, answered yes. From that point, the bond between father and daughter grew even closer. In the kitchen of the Silver Dragon Temple, the table was laid out with various tools as if for brewing potions. At the entrance, the sound of footsteps echoed. Two servants entered cheerfully, carrying all sorts of medicinal herbs in different shapes and colors. One of them spoke to Leon. Your Royal Highness, all the ingredients you asked for are here. He nodded in satisfaction and gestured to the tray on the table. Good, just leave them here. He smiled as he watched the servants leave the room, intentionally asking them to fetch a few unnecessary ingredients, This way, they wouldn't suspect what he was really up to. Resting his chin in his hand, Levan stared thoughtfully at the pile of herbs on the table and muttered to himself, the ingredients for making dragon's strength are easy to find, and it doesn't seem like the process is too complicated. But why does the book say that even the most skilled alchemist from the Dragon Clan has such a low success rate in making it? On the other side, Leon stirred the pestle and mortar in his hand, grinding the herbs into powder. He spoke while working. You need to crush the herbs first, then add them to the pot in the right order and cook them. As he spoke, he poured the crushed herbs into the pot and stirred them thoroughly. Hours later, Leon looked at the 4 bottles of different colored potions on the table and in frustration, clutched his head and shouted, "Ah, another failure. It's definitely not as simple as it seems." He picked up a purple bottle, shook it, and sighed in discouragement, speaking to himself, "I've followed the book's method several times already, and every time I fail at the filtering step." He glanced at the 2 bottles in front of them, both partially processed. One contained a sea blue crystal, and the other held a purple liquid. Leon studied them carefully and remarked, "The book says to filter at high temperatures, but if it gets too hot, the medicine loses its effectiveness. If the temperature is too little, it can't refine the medicine into a pure form." Levan muttered as he rubbed his wrist and shook the purple vial. He then wondered aloud, "Shaking it by hand isn't enough to filter the medicine properly. I need professional equipment. Master always says if one way doesn't work, try another." He paused and thought, is there another method to filter out the impurities effectively? Outside, the sky had turned dark, and with the continuous rumbling of thunder, the air felt even more eerie. Leon casually leaned back in his chair, gazing outside, and asked himself, is that thunder? Is it going to rain soon? Worried about the rain getting into the room, he cautiously stood up to close the window. Suddenly, he looked up at the dark sky, where the thunder was constantly cracking, and murmured, "Lightning, thunder, thunder." An idea flashed in his mind, and he suddenly recalled something his teacher had mentioned earlier. Thunder. He remembered during a lesson on refining gold, the teacher had said, sometimes using electricity to purify impurities is more effective than fire. Realizing a new direction he could take, Levan quickly regained his focus and rushed back to his medicine-making desk, thinking to himself, maybe I can use the lighting element, something this book doesn't mention, to try refining. My strongest skill is elemental lightning magic. Right now, my magic power has only recovered a little, but it's still enough to do this. As soon as he thought of it, Leon immediately used his ability to create powerful bolts of lightning beneath the bottom of the jar. Quickly, the jar started reacting intensely. Half an hour later, Leon had succeeded. He held up a black pill in his hand, smiling in excitement, and said it worked. He happily put it into a small box in his hand, grinning proudly. The Dragon Clan's medicine is easy to make after all. Just then, Moan suddenly appeared from somewhere. She looked up at him with an excited expression and asked, "Dad, what are you doing?" Leon answered casually, "Just making something interesting." But then he froze for a moment, sensing something was off. He looked at her, still happily gazing up at him, and then realized what felt wrong. He panicked and shouted, "Ah, Moan." Leon quickly shut the small box tightly, bent down, and patted her head to distract her, saying, "It's nothing, sweetheart." But it was no use fooling Moan. She had already seen the box and immediately asked, "Are you holding candy, Dad?" He gently shook the box in his hand and answered the little girl, "This? It's medicine that Dad made for Mom." Moan immediately became worried about her mother and anxiously asked, "Medicine for Mom? Is she sick?" Leon, afraid that the little one might overthink or get upset, quickly patted her head to reassure her. "No, sweetheart. I just saw Mom working really hard lately, so I made some medicine to help her feel better. Don't worry." Of course, he couldn't tell her that the medicine was actually for him. Moan trusted him right away, and still very concerned about her mother, furtively pointed her finger and reminded him, "Then you have to take good care of Mom, okay?" He smiled and agreed, replying, "Of course, it's my job." But in his mind, he thought to himself, "Once I recover, I'll show her who's in charge." That night outside, the rain kept falling steadily, getting heavier as the night went on. Thunder rumbled, flashing across the dark sky. Inside the lavish room, Levan sat on the bed, constantly flicking the medicine box up into the air, deep in thought. Although I've mastered the dragon's strength, I wonder if the Dragon Clan's nutrients will have any side effects on humans. Leon was worried the medicine wouldn't work as he hoped, so he tightly gripped the box in his hand, thinking, maybe I should just leave it for now. Before he could finish his thought, there was a knock at the door that caught his attention. When he saw Rose Weir step inside, Leon quickly hid the box behind him and shouted, "Queen, your majesty, why are you here?" Weir crossed her arms, smiling smugly, and replied, "I heard from Moan that you made a medicine for me that's very similar to chocolate to help improve my health." Leon looked away, unsure how to respond. A question kept repeating in his mind. How did that kid spread the word so quickly? She didn't seem to want to make things difficult for him. She just walked over calmly and said, "Don't worry, I'm not here to interrogate you. I'm just surprised you managed to make medicine in such a poor environment." Weir, clearly curious, leaned down, extended her hand, asked, "What did you make? Can I see it?" Leon wasn't playing to hide it. He gently handed the box to her. "Even if I said no, you'd just use force to take it, wouldn't you?" Rose opened the box and looked at the pill inside, clearly satisfied and praising it. "Yeah, this is good. To be able to refine such perfect dragon strength under these conditions. You're really impressive, Leon. What's that saying again? A scholar and a warrior, right?" Hearing her praise, he was stunned and couldn't quite believe it. He thought to himself, is she mocking me? But suddenly, Weir snapped the box shut, reminding him, "You can keep this, but you are not allowed to take the pill." She handed the box back to him after speaking. Still confused, he asked her, "Huh? Why not?" Weir patiently explained, "This is a supplement for the Dragon Clan. For humans, its effects are too powerful." Leon, still in disbelief, asked again, "This pill is that good?" The more she spoke, the colder her gaze became. "Serious now," she warned him. "I'm telling you this for your own good. A human like you wouldn't be able to handle its power." Leon, on the other hand, felt a bit insulted, furrowing his brows. He picked up the pill and challenged her. "What about the power of a dragon? I've defeated countless king dragons. How could I not handle such a tiny pill? Rose Weir, don't underestimate me." As soon as he finished speaking, without waiting for her to respond, Leon swallowed the pill. "Ha!" He even responded with a sense of pride. Courage is a psalm for humanity. Rose, taken aback by his challenging behavior, felt her anger rising. "Leon, you..." Just as she said that, Leon suddenly felt something strange in his chest, as if something triggered a sharp sensation that made him freeze. It felt like something was piercing deeply into him, causing him to collapse onto the bed, groaning in pain. "Aha!" Seeing his painful reaction, Weir scolded him. "Damn it. I don't use healing magic like this very often." Seeing him with a pale face, clutching his chest, Rose quickly placed her hand over his chest. A circle of purple magic appeared. She intended to use her magic. "How do you feel now? Let me try to break down the effects of the drug for you." Suddenly, he cried out again. "Ah!" Around him, waves of blue magic began to appear. Rose Weir saw this and quickly tried to stop him, saying, "Ah, don't move." But Leon, on the contrary, didn't need her help, and more bolts of blue lightning started to surround him. Despite the pain, he gritted his teeth and stopped her. "Look carefully, Silver Dragon Queen. This is the courage and determination of a human." Outside, the rain fell even harder. However, inside the mansion, a bright green light glowed, accompanied by a shockwave that reverberated through the area. In the room, Leon cried out in pain repeatedly. His body was constantly emitting sparks of electricity that crackled around him. Rose Weir stared in amazement at the electric currents coming from his body, thinking, using magic with his own body, what on earth is he doing? After enduring prolonged torment, Leon's body was worn out and could no longer take it. He began to lose consciousness, letting out a soft cry. Ugh! The electrical currents stopped immediately. Seeing him collapse, she rushed over to catch him, shouting his name, "Leon." Weir quickly laid him down on the bed to let him rest. But she couldn't help but scold him. "You're truly insane." Knowing there was no time to waste, she turned and said, "Wait here. I'll go get the royal healer." Leon, lying on the bed, slowly began to regain consciousness, though his face was strangely flushed. Suddenly, Leon reached out toward Weir. It took her by surprise, and her eyes widened. What he grabbed wasn't her hand, but her tail. He looked like a fool, grinning and waving her tail around. Weir felt a wave of discomfort as he held her tail and quickly asked, "What's wrong with you?" Maybe the shock from using so much magic had turned him into a completely different person. Leon, without a hint of embarrassment, rubbed his cheek against her tail and said playfully, Darling, where are you going?" Weir, hearing those words, felt embarrassed. Her face flushed red, and goosebumps spread across her skin. She quickly retorted, "Puppy, who's your darling?" She realized something was off with him and immediately pushed his face away from her tail. "Let go of me." But Leon held on tight, his voice soft as he replied, "No, I won't let my darling go anywhere." He continued rubbing his face against her tail with satisfaction, repeatedly calling, "Darling, darling." Weir helplessly turned her head away, thinking to herself, the dragon's power probably only affects the body, not the mind. This kind of mental state shouldn't happen. "Has the elemental thunder's effect changed the medicine?" she asked, blushing as she looked at Leon Cosmos, who seemed to cling to her, acting strangely. But he looked so silly like this. Surely he's not in any immediate danger, right? Leon, still tightly holding onto her tail, kept calling out, "Wife, wife, wife, wife." Weir couldn't move, nor could she do anything. She just sat there helplessly. All right, I'm here." "What is it? Tell me." Suddenly, without any warning, Leon, looking confused, made a direct proposal. Let's have another one, wife. Stunned by his blunt words, she widened her eyes and exclaimed, huh? Seeing that she wasn't going along with his request, he acted like a 3-year-old, continuing to cling to her tail, rolling around on the bed, whining, I want another one. Please. She felt her face grow even redder as she watched him. She couldn't understand why he was being so shameless. She shouted in refusal. You're not even properly taken care of the first two, and now you want another one? Forget it. Worried about making noise and alerting the people outside, she could only helplessly bury her face in her hands. To avoid any more trouble, it's better to just go along with what he says, Rose Weir thought as the rain kept pouring outside. She could only agree with him. Okay, not just one, let's have a few more, Leon said, now wanting even more. You'll have to come back to my hometown too, he added. She knew she couldn't refuse any more and quickly agreed. Fine, fine, fine. Once we settle down, we'll go back, she said. At that moment, he looked like a child who'd just been given candy, happily raising both hands and cheering. That's great. But Rose, standing next to him, wasn't as pleased. This guy is even more annoying when he's being spoiled. As she was still trying to figure out what to do next, Leon suddenly leaned his face right into hers, puckering his lips as if he were about to kiss her. Without any hesitation, he said, Wife, you're the best, ha! She was startled by his actions, quickly grabbing his face and pulling him away, shouting, You idiot, don't take advantage of this opportunity. In her mind, she kept panicking, wondering, when will this medicine wear off? Unable to hold back her frustration, she punched him in the mouth and yelled, Stupid! Leon, hit by the punch, turned pale, groaning in pain. Seeing him collapse onto the bed, Rose Weir suddenly realized her unconscious action. In a panic, she thought, I couldn't hold back, and ended up striking him. She rushed to shake him, terrified something had happened to Leon, and quickly asked, Are you okay? Leon's whole body started to tremble, as though there was fire inside him. He breathed heavily, his face turning red. He quickly told her, Wife, I feel a little uncomfortable. Immediately, a familiar purple mark appeared on her chest. Rose Weir touched it, her mind racing. This isn't good. She quickly pulled open his shirt, and a purple mark appeared on his chest too. She couldn't believe what was happening. Why is the dragon seal activating now? Before she could react, Leon suddenly found a burst of strength from somewhere. He grabbed her by the shoulders and pushed her down onto the bed. She was terrified and hurriedly asked him, Leon, you bastard, what are you trying to do? Leon gripped her hand tightly, his voice sounding childish as he said, I feel terrible, wife. His face was getting redder and redder. He let out a labored breath, saying, My whole body feels so hot, my chest itches. Rose looked at the man in front of her, and the lingering effect of the mark made her body heat up too. Her face flushed bright red, unable to stop herself from blushing deeply. The dragon's mark, mixed with the element of thunder, made his desires burn even more intensely than before. He didn't seem embarrassed at all as he reached for her tail, inhaling deeply and saying, Your tail smells so good. I really like your tail. She watched in shock, feeling even more panicked. If this keeps up, Rose knew she couldn't let Leon continue like this. She quickly grabbed his face and pushed him away, shouting, My tail drags on the ground all day. You put it in your mouth and don't think it's dirty? Get up right now. Just as she was about to say more, he placed a hand on her lips to stop her. Leon's face was flushed with desire as he looked at the woman beneath him. Unable to stop himself from complimenting her, Rose, you look so beautiful tonight. Surprised by the compliment, her face turned an even deeper shade of red. She quickly looked away, thinking to herself, Even if you say that, what's going on in your mind? This man's attitude is completely different from before. The fierce appearance and the irresistible madness, she thought to herself, but Weir couldn't help sneaking a glance at the man before her. Why was she starting to feel a little expectant? Leon could tell she was starting to feel the same way, so he flashed her a mischievous smile and asked, Wife, you can help me, right? Of course, she was successfully persuaded. Her face flushed with embarrassment, and she quickly looked away, but she still answered him, All right, just tonight, though. Soon, they both became lost in the moment. She trembled all over, unable to hold back a soft moan. Oh! The next morning outside the grand white mansion, the gentle sunlight bathed everything in its glow. It was beautiful. Levan Cosmos woke up slowly and silently, letting out a soft sound. But when his eyes opened, what he saw was Rose Weir, completely naked, and to his surprise, he was in the same state. Seeing his shocked expression, she smirked, clearly pleased with herself, and asked, So, you're awake now? As if seeing a ghost, he immediately shot up, goosebumps covering his body, and yelled, Ah, how did you get here? At this moment, Levan also felt his body aching all over. He frowned, reached out, and touched his muscles, complaining, My whole body hurts so much. He didn't understand what had happened, so he quickly asked her, I don't remember anything. What exactly happened last night? Seeing that he had no memory of it, she slowly got off the bed. Calmly, she turned the question back to him. You don't remember anything at all? but she still couldn't help but smile smugly, turning her head to remind him. You shouldn't forget this, right? Dragon Slayer. Leon noticed the reddish marks on Weir's body and couldn't help but think in shock. So many love bites. Did I do that? His head suddenly throbbed with pain. Immediately after, images from last night flashed in Leon's mind. From the whining to the constant holding of her tail and even shamelessly begging her to do everything, all these scenes played out like a fast-forwarded film in his head. It felt like waking up from a nightmare. He clutched his head, screaming in agony, "Oh no!" Seeing his reaction, she looked almost pleased, her eyes gleaming with even more amusement. She didn't forget to remind him, "Do you remember now? Last night, it was you who begged me to do it with you." Rose slowly repeated the words he had said the night before. "Leon, my dear, can we do this one last time? Please, wife? I'm feeling really frustrated. Please help me. Just this once. It's the last time." Leon tried to cover his ears, his whole body trembling so much that he clenched his teeth, refusing to accept the truth. Even as she was about to say more, "Darling, you," he quickly raised his hand to stop her. "Stop. You don't need to say it again. I remember everything now." He hurriedly put his shirt on while still speculating. "I only made the dragon strength potion to improve my health and to show Rose Weir a little, but I didn't expect the effects to turn out like this." Liam was still concerned about Weir and asked, "I admit, I might have gone a little too far last night. I didn't hurt you, did I?" She, as if used to it, didn't feel much pain. She calmly dressed and responded, "It's fine." Hearing that, he crossed his arms and looked pleased, saying, "Now you should see how low my body is, right? Next time, don't say I can't handle it." Her words bothered her, and her deep gray eyes narrowed in frustration. Immediately, she rushed over to his side, her face full of irritation. Liam, seeing her approach, was taken aback. "Ah, what's going on?" She wasn't angry at his words. On the contrary, she was confident, lifting his face as if she were catching prey. "Your performance last night pleased me, Dragon Slayer. I hope you can maintain this state forever." Liam heard each word clearly, unable to believe it. He widened his eyes in disbelief. "Ha! Have I become some kind of service provider now?" Suddenly, she crossed her arms and brought up another topic. "By the way, about the bet and the change of address. Speaking of which, Rose Weir blushed and looked away shyly. You won. Have you thought of your request?" Leon scratched his head awkwardly and hesitated before answering. "Oh, well, I've thought of something." He wasn't sure if his request would be accepted, so he could only look at her with a sad expression. "Could you send someone to the Empire to visit my master and mistress?" Weir lowered her head, chin in hand, considering Liam's words, but to her it wasn't a big deal, so she agreed. "We dragons aren't really good at sneaking around, but if it's just a visit, it shouldn't be a problem. When my request was accepted, I felt much happier." "Really? Then thank you." He realized he might have acted a bit too much, so he quickly calmed himself down. He cleared his throat softly and replied seriously, "Am, sorry to trouble you." Meanwhile, on the other side, in a lush garden with carefully planted flowers and bushes, all tended to with great care, the flowers were in full bloom. This was the Silver Dragon Temple's flower garden. In a corner of the garden, Leon sat on a bench, feeling dejected, sighing deeply. Next to him, Moan, seeing his mood, asked with concern, "Dad, are you sick?" Leon, worried his appearance might make her anxious, quickly straightened up, smiling as he replied, No, I'm fine. Why do you ask?" Moan, with great confidence, raised her small fingers and said, "Heh, Mom told me. You took the medicine last night by yourself. You're a man, and men aren't supposed to say they're sick." Hearing the innocent words from his child, Leon couldn't help but curse Rose in his mind. That dragoness. "Why would you say something like that to a child? I must have no shame left," Leon muttered, still unaware that his words were making him more uncomfortable. Moan, however, remained completely innocent, asking without hesitation, "Is Dad still not feeling well? Is it because the medicine hasn't worked enough yet? Or maybe you haven't been taking enough medicine, Dad?" Every word Moan said hit him like a punch, making him furious, and quickly tried to stop her. "Moan, that's not polite. You shouldn't ask things like that." When the little girl noticed blood at the corner of his mouth, she immediately panicked. "Ah, Dad, you're bleeding." Unaware of what had happened, she was just scared that he might leave her, so she rushed to hug him tightly, begging him, "Dad, please don't go. Moan can't live without you. Please don't die." Wah. Leon quickly patted her head, trying to comfort her. "I'm fine, really. I'm okay." But as he looked at Moan, who spoke so bluntly, he couldn't help but think, "She's definitely Rose Weir's daughter. She reminds me so much of her." He bent down to play with her and cheer her up. Smiling, he suggested, "How about I make you a new toy today?" Moan's eyes lit up at the mention of toys. "A toy?" "Yes, Moan. I know you love toys the most." Then he immediately got to work making a toy for his daughter. It was a Rubik's Cube that he carefully crafted. After finishing the colors and the final square, Leon excitedly turned to show it to his daughter. Tana, this toy is called a Rubik's Cube. You can twist it around however you like. Go ahead and try it. Moan saw the new toy in his hands and immediately rushed forward. Yes, Daddy. Seeing her eyes sparkle as she looked at the toy, Leon couldn't help but think, I used to study machinery and alchemy in school, learning basic principles of assembling machines. I never imagined today I'd be using them for this. Could it be that I was born to take care of my daughter? Suddenly, he felt as if someone was staring at him. A sense of unease washed over him. Leon quickly turned his head, looking towards the distant entrance. Moan, noticing his tense reaction, hurriedly asked, Daddy, what's wrong? He didn't see anyone and didn't respond to her. It's nothing. But deep inside, he felt a familiar energy which led him to make a guess. Could that gaze have come from No's training area? Leon felt that something was off about the girl and couldn't help but think about it. However, today she wouldn't take the initiative to play with him, so he didn't want to bother her further. After a moment of thought, he glanced at the pile of wooden blocks and tools on the table in the distance. There was enough to make one more piece, a little gift for No. Later that night, the door to the room slowly creaked open. No, after a long day of practice, walked in. She glanced over at Moan, who was sleeping soundly in bed. Slowly, Noah walked over to the desk in the room and saw a Rubik's Cube placed on it, along with a note from Leon underneath. Noah coldly picked up the cube, unable to stop herself from calling it a silly thing. I'm not interested in this toy. Yet she couldn't resist playing with it for a while. After all, Noah was still a young girl and she couldn't ignore the allure of a new toy. Her eyes lit up and her face flushed with excitement. In her heart, she silently thanked Leon. Thank you, Dad. Next came No's treasure hunt segment. In the following days, Mo noticed that her sister was sneaking around doing something behind her back, so she started secretly following her. Moan stood outside and looked in. She saw Minnow hiding something under the bed. In her mind, she couldn't help but think, lately my sister's been acting strange, always hiding things from me and keeping them in the box under the bed. With her curious nature, Moan decided to play detective and was determined to find out what that object was. Excited, she pulled back the curtain, her eyes locked on the box under the bed, thinking while she's not around, let's see what's inside. Detective Moan is on the case. Moan opened the box, and inside were a few familiar items. A Rubik's Cube from Leon, a piece of paper with Leon's name on it, and a cracked piece that had fallen off Leon's black iron armor. Seeing these items, Moan quickly realized what they were. These are all things related to Dad, she thought. Feeling like a brilliant detective, Moan couldn't help but praise herself. Humph, Moan understands now, actually. Before she could finish her sentence, she felt a sharp, dangerous gaze from behind. In the next moment, Noah calmly turned around and walked away with the precious box in her hands. She gently reminded her little sister, don't spy on me. Meanwhile, poor Moan was tied up at the back, his mouth taped shut, struggling and letting out a few muffled cries. Green Academy was a school for the nobles of the Dragon Clan. Its admission standards were strict, and family background played an important role in the selection process. True to its reputation, the Academy's emblem featured a dragon in the center, with 2 laurel wreaths on either side. At first glance, it was clear just how prestigious the institution was. Green Academy believed that whether a dragon was born through asexual reproduction or the usual way, only a family that lived in harmony, love, and respected the Dragon Clan's philosophy could raise a dragon worthy of the Academy's standards. The Academy would only admit students from such families. The standards were based on the ideal image of a happy, united family. To create the illusion of a perfect, loving Dragon Clan family, a Silver Dragon Queen decided to take her family on a trip, capturing family photos along the way. At the floating fortress, Rose Weir had transformed into her dragon form. She spread her wings wide and flew her family toward the magnificent castle ahead, with breathtaking views of the mountains and rivers. Many other Dragon Clan families were also there, bringing their children to the Academy. Upon arrival, she folded her silver white wings and landed gracefully. The force of impact on the air made the white dust fill the sky. Moan, as cute as a little dough ball, grinned so widely her eyes squinted, raising both arms and legs as she slid down from her mother. Levan Cosmos stood in front, arms wide open to catch her. Slow down, Daddy will carry you down, he said. No, the older sister was already ahead. Her small face, though innocent, held a mature expression as she looked at her father and little sister. A subtle shift in the air appeared around them. Leon caught Moan in his arms, and her eyes lit up with excitement. She innocently asked, Daddy, why did you turn into a dragon earlier? I wanted to see you turn into a dragon. Upon hearing that, Leon immediately broke into a cold sweat. He forced a smile, laughing awkwardly, but inside he felt distressed. Sweetheart, I'm great at slaying dragons, but turning into one, that's another story. However, his awkward expression couldn't escape No's sharp gaze. She immediately caught on and bluntly called him out, making him freeze in place. You can't actually turn into a dragon, can you? He panicked right away, trying to smile and dodge the question, while nervously glancing at Weir for help. Rose gently explained to her two daughters, "Your father hasn't fully recovered yet. He can't transform into a dragon for now, but once he gets better, he'll show you." Moan, innocent as ever, naturally believed her. She looked worried, gripping her hands tightly, her brows furrowed in concern, making her look so pitiful. Then Dad needs to get better quickly. Leon, encouraged by the girls, felt a bit relieved. Though he secretly resisted the idea, he knew it was impossible to change things. After a moment of hesitation, the whole family held hands and walked on. "All right, let's head to the city. We've got things to do today." The city gate was intricately carved, towering high above, with people bustling in and out. Moan's cute appearance and the bright innocence in the girls' eyes made them enjoy the sights ahead. "Wow, look, so many dragons," Moan exclaimed. No, with a calm and mature air followed behind. Acting grown-up, she reminded her sister, "Slow down, don't walk too fast." The playful sight of the two girls caught the attention of people around them. As they continued walking, Leon suddenly started shaking. Weir noticed this strange behavior and couldn't help but think, what's wrong with him? Why is he trembling like that? That's true, this is probably the first time he's woken up from his coma and seen so many dragons around him. Even though Long was worried, she still put on a mischievous look, teasing him with a smirk. "What's wrong? Are you scared?" Despite the difficulty his body was facing, Leon forced himself to hold back, giving a weak smile as if nothing was wrong, and argued back. "What? Scared? I'm actually excited here, okay." He pointed at the crowd in front of him, which included people of all ages and genders, and spoke confidently. First-class accomplishments, second-class accomplishments, a path full of merit, soon to be rich, all right. After finishing, Lena laughed brightly and walked forward. His mood clearly lifted, a stark contrast to his earlier demeanor. "Ha ha ha." Bringing them back could earn quite a bit of money. Weir, seeing this clownish attitude, was too frustrated to say anything. "Gee, I guess I've been worrying about him too much." A little bell on the door rang as it opened. Selena and the staff member carefully bowed and greeted the guest with warmth. "Hello, Your Majesty, Silver Dragon Queen. We are honored to serve your family." The staff member led the way, and the two little girls happily followed ahead. "Hey sis, look, there are so many pictures of dragons." Yeah, some parents are just leisurely walking around, admiring the displays in the shop. Levan, feeling confused, whispered softly, "Didn't they say we're the Silver Dragon Queen? Why are you personally coming to the shop to take pictures?" Rose seemed a bit displeased, furrowing her brows as she explained the King Dragon clan can only command their own family members. These dragons belong to the floating city, not to any clan. Hearing that, Leon couldn't help but smile and jokingly said, "So, does that make your position as queen a bit lower?" But immediately he regretted his words when Rose gave him a sharp kick. Ignoring Leon, who was clutching his leg in pain behind her, she huffed and walked away, throwing back over her shoulder, still higher than others though. Selena, ever so composed and polite, spoke with a formal tone. "It is an honor to take pictures for the family of the Silver Dragon Queen. It's truly a privilege for my little shop." Weir, paying up on the subtlety, gently complimented her in return. "Everyone says you, Miss Selena, are the best photographer in the Dragon Clan. How you take our family photos is indeed a blessing." After speaking, Selena looked at Leon and asked, "Your Majesty, your husband's tail?" Luckily, she kept calm and quickly found a reasonable explanation. "He doesn't like to show his tail. Please pick a suit without a tail for him." Weir felt a bit guilty after saying this. She remembered how she had once tried to get Leon to wear a fake dragon tail. She recalled how Leon had stubbornly refused back then. "No, I'd rather die than wear this. It's a matter of my dignity." She didn't ask more and led the whole family into the fitting room. "I understand, Your Majesty. Please step over here to try on the clothes." Their youngest daughter kept chattering. "Moen wants to wear a pretty dress." A little while later, the two girls stepped out. One looked mature and elegant, while the other appeared radiant and playful. They were truly adorable kids. Leon also pulled back the curtain and stepped out in a sharp, pristine white suit. His hair was styled back, giving him a serious and dignified presence. Little Moen's eyes lit up, and she quickly said, "Wow, Daddy looks so handsome." Selena was also a bit taken aback, gazing at him. "The royal prince really suits this suit. I bet many people must have liked it before, right?" He felt satisfied and thought to himself, "Is that right? The last time I wore a suit was for my graduation ceremony." He happily adjusted his jacket and asked his eldest daughter, "No, what do you think?" The little girl blushed, shyly whispering a compliment. "Yes, you look really handsome." Flattered by the praise, Leon was excited and patted both of his little ones' heads. "Your dresses are also very cute." At that moment, Weir pulled back the curtain. She was wearing a purple-black dress, exuding both elegance and mystery. Her fair skin and graceful figure were perfectly accentuated by the seductive design of the dress, leaving everyone in awe. "Mom, you look so beautiful." In that instant, Leon couldn't help but be moved. His eyes were fixed on her, so much so that his cheeks turned pink. When she noticed and asked, "What's wrong?" he nervously scratched his head, too shy to look her in the eye. "No, you just look really good in that." Weir suddenly felt a bit shy and looked away. "I just think it would be perfect if you had a tail, too." Despite this, Leon was resolute. "Humph, in this lifetime, I will never wear a tail." On the other side, the two little girls were eagerly waiting and called out loudly, "Dad, Mom, come here." Selena's gentle eyes seemed to smile as she said, "Ready for the photo. Queen, Your Majesty, Royal Prince, please stand a little closer." Still, the young couple hesitated, clearly not wanting to look at each other. "No way." Finally, the whole family of four laughed and seriously looked into the camera as instructed. "Let's smile now." The result was a lot of photos, the whole family happy. The two children were adorable, and the young couple went from shy to playfully bickering. Selena smiled softly, sighing. They really do look like a couple. Going back in time, during Leon's graduation, so many beautiful girls were surrounding him, flirting, leaving Leon feeling trapped. "Hey, Leon, can we take a picture together? Can we have lunch sometime? Please accept this gift." But all he could think about was the donkey at home, his face blank as he turned them down. "No, I have to go home to trim my uncle's donkey's hooves. Maybe next time." He turned away, leaving the girls' hearts shattered. Goodbye. Even his 70-year-old uncle had never seen anything like this before. "If it were me, I'd say this kid must have had his head kicked by a donkey." After taking photos, they headed to the main center of the festival. The photo development would take about 6 hours. During this time, Queen, Your Majesty, would take a walk around the floating city. Levin led Noah ahead, while Moan was kept an eye on by Rose. The little girl even turned back to wave goodbye to the shopkeeper. Of course, Moan wasn't sitting still. She grabbed Noah's hand and ran ahead. "Sis, let's go check out the other side." Behind them, Rose and Liam quietly followed. Leon spoke up first. "I never imagined I'd get the chance to stroll around with you. It's quite miraculous." She responded calmly, "This is all for the sake of preserving our family's image. Noah cares a lot about this entrance exam. You've all worked hard for nearly a month now, so a little relaxation wouldn't hurt." Up ahead, Moan's eyes lit up like stars when she saw 2 teddy bears at a gun booth. The parents quickly noticed and understood the situation. Noah tried and failed. Moan beside her also looked disappointed. The shopkeeper pretended to comfort her with a raised voice. "Too bad, little one. Try a few more times, and I'm sure you'll be able to shoot them down." "Oh, they have a shooting game here too." Liam was surprised. The little girl, seeing her savior, immediately said, "Daddy." No, still disappointed because she hadn't hit her target, puffed out her cheeks and muttered, "I didn't hit it." Leon couldn't help but smile helplessly, thinking to himself, "Isn't that how it works? If you miss in this game, the owner makes money." Weir looked at the toy gun and commented, "The bullets in this toy gun are made from magical energy. You also need to meet certain requirements to control the magical energy with precision. For no, it's actually a bit tricky." The little girl puffed her cheeks and handed the toy to Leon. He suddenly remembered seeing someone play this game at a human market before. The shopkeeper rubbed his hands and invited them. "Why don't you give it a try? If you've hit all the balloons with just 10 shots, you can win a doll. Your daughter seems like she really wants it." His sweet words hit another agenda. "I'm letting the kids try it on purpose, hoping to attract their parents and reel them in." Leon bent down to look at his 2 children. "Do you want that teddy bear?" Noah shook her head, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I don't want to," she said. Moan felt the same way. Yeah, Moan didn't want to either. In the end, he understood the meaning of saying yes means no. It actually meant yes. He usually had plenty of confidence. Levin spoke up, pointing at Rose Weir beside him. "Boss, give me 10 rounds and she'll pay." He felt like he had tricked someone into a trap, grinning with satisfaction. "Heh, fine, fine." Rose tossed a few gold coins to the boss. He replied, "Thanks." Meanwhile, Leon raised his gun. "It's been a while since I held a gun. The last time was during the Dragon Slayer Academy training. When I fired, the gun jerked after 2 shots. It missed, just as I expected." Seemingly sensing the problem, Leon stared at the guy. The shopkeeper, on the other hand, looked smug, basking in his victory. "I get a few adjustments to the gun. No one can easily hit the target. Life isn't always like you imagine, huh?" The shopkeeper seemed ready to shout when he saw Leon fire a second time, hitting 5 out of 5 shots. Spinning the gun like he had achieved something great, Leon said, "The first shot wasn't too accurate. I didn't expect to win every time. My luck's pretty decent," the shopkeeper muttered, clearly stunned. "How is this even happening?" "Not bad at all," Rose smiled, giving her husband a rare compliment. Moan added cheerfully, "Dad, you're the best." "So cool." Noah chimed in, eyes sparkling. Sensing his luck might get him into trouble, the shopkeeper quickly handed over 2 oversized stuffed bears. Seriously impressive. These are your prizes, he said with a strained smile, barely holding in his frustration. Just take them and go already, he thought bitterly. Leon accepted the toys with a big grin. Thanks, boss. He turned to the kids and handed each of them a bear. Thank you, Dad, Moen said excitedly. Thanks, Noah added softly, hugging her bear tight. Watching the scene, Weir raised an eyebrow, a little surprised. Leon might act silly most of the time, but when he got serious, he had a charm that was hard to ignore. Suddenly, Leon glanced up at her and caught her eye. Rose blinked, slightly flustered. Why is he looking at me like that? A few minutes later, a small child nearby tugged on her mom's sleeve and pointed at Rose. Mommy, I want one like hers too. The girl was struggling to carry a bear nearly her size, probably the one Leon had just handed over. Not far away, Leon crossed his arms, clearly proud of himself. Did you see the look on that stingy merchant's face? That was priceless. Leon laughed loudly as he remembered the moment he paid extra to shoot 10 more rounds, which scared the shop owner half to death. She spoke sarcastically, as usual. You didn't have to do that. If it were me handling things, I'd just advise you not to waste your time on those silly games. He replied, We came here to have fun, so as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's what matters. What's wrong? Don't you like it? Leon was curious. Weir pretended to be indifferent. I already said it wasn't necessary. He tried to reassure her. We're already here, so I can't let you leave empty-handed. Her soft tone made Rose blush. Animals like bears were difficult to eat, hardly even enough to fill the stomach, but they made cute toys. Weir turned her face away and ordered Leon. After dinner tonight, come to my room to see me. Hearing this, he shouted so loudly that the whole square could hear. What? Late at night, inside the castle, Leon walked down the hallway, feeling anxious. Rose Weir invited me to her room. A man and a woman, alone at midnight. Something's definitely going to happen. He frowned in frustration. If I go, it'll be uncomfortable for a night. If I don't go, it'll be uncomfortable for a week. With that thought, grumbling, he headed to her room. Damn it, I'm really risking it with her. Just as he was about to knock, he suddenly noticed a small gap of light. The door isn't locked. Without thinking, he stepped inside and looked around. The room was empty. Where is she? He heard the sound of running water and immediately understood. I came too early. She's still in the shower. Through the glass, he saw the outline of Weir's figure. For a moment, he thought, the quality of this glass isn't that great. Fearing he was about to be overworked, Leon panicked. So tonight's really happening, huh? He had to calm himself down, shaking his head to try and settle his nerves. Before Liam could figure out how to escape, the bathroom door suddenly swung open. Rose Weir appeared, wearing a purple nightgown that showed off her curves. She spoke. You're here? Then let's get started. Knowing he couldn't escape her grasp, Leon asked just for the sake of it. Am I going to be drained again? The next morning, the photos from the festival were sent over. Moon commented, your parents are such a perfect match. He noticed a handwritten letter among the photos. This picture also had a tag attached to it. She said, what's this? Let me see. They both read the words, which seemed to be a poem. May the bright silver light forever shine on the lover in my eyes. At this point, they both felt embarrassed and instinctively pulled away from each other. In unison, they muttered, who would want to be his lover? It's her. Weir picked up the photo and turned away, clearly feeling something was wrong. Give me this photo to handle. Leon calmly put his hand behind his neck. Yeah, something's definitely written wrong. The warm golden light blurred their vision slightly. Facing Liam was Weir's beautiful face, as delicate as a sand sculpture, and the sheer nightgown she wore clung to her body, almost revealing everything. She casually asked, where you want to do it? The living room or the balcony? At the mention of the latter, Leon's gaze shifted as he froze, unable to form a response, only managing a nervous, forced smile. It's not really ideal on the balcony, is it? If someone sees, it'll be embarrassing. Rose turned her back, admiring her own masterpiece. She held a roll of paper in her hand, her tone cold and decisive, completely lacking any emotional warmth. Then do it in the living room. It doesn't matter where. Liam lowered his head, letting out a long sigh as if bracing himself. 2 seconds later, he squeezed his eyes shut, his nose barely able to open, his brow furrowed in fear. He raised his voice, almost like he was delivering his last words before facing the firing squad. Then let's just do it. Leon let his limbs go limp, his face twisted in a mix of agony and helplessness, like a chicken tossed onto the chopping block, making a frightened noise. Oh no! Weir turned around and saw this, clearly confused. What are you doing? He widened his eyes in surprise, not realizing his cheeks were flushed red. Ha! Didn't you want to do that? Weir smirked, clearly pleased with Leon's pleading attitude, but still refused. Mr. Leon, you seem a bit frustrated, but not today. Maybe another time. Leon felt so embarrassed, he could practically feel himself turning as red as a tomato. He quickly sat up, coughed awkwardly, and tried to pretend to be calm as he asked about the stack of papers on the table. Cough, cough. What's this? As she explained, he focused intently on the paper. It was a past survey test from Green Academy for families with children, covering questions about habits, personality, and experiences. Unlike her teasing earlier, Rose Weir switched back to a serious expression, carefully reminding her husband, "We need to match our answers first, so that when the time comes, it doesn't affect nose application if we don't do well." Hearing her, Leon also concentrated on reading the paper filled with questions, even feeling 8 parts confident. Aren't these just those silly questions they use in couple compatibility quizzes? To practice, he turned to ask, "Hey, what's your favorite color?" She answered, "Black, and yours?" "Silver." Suddenly, the atmosphere froze. They silently stared at each other for a few seconds, then turned away with a cold expression, but both of their faces were as red as a tomato. "Ha! It's just a coincidence, no big deal, just a coincidence." Returning to the serious matter for No, Weir tried to keep her composure as she made a final decision. "Let's start by testing how well we understand each other," she said. "Sure, that works. Each of us will do our own thing." Time passed, how long she wasn't sure, but the candles still flickered softly, casting a warm, gentle light across the room. Eventually, Leon finished first. "I'm done." They both looked at each other's work. Leon, eager to show off, couldn't help but grin proudly. "Ha ha, my score is higher than yours. Looks like I understand the queen better than you." Weir didn't seem pleased and huffed, clearly irritated. Her face showed her displeasure as she frowned, thinking to herself. But inside, there was a hint of reluctant acknowledgement. "I didn't expect him to notice even the smallest details, like the way I prefer to sit or where I like to keep my tail. He's surprisingly observant for someone who doesn't say much. He must pay more attention than I thought." Weir pondered the answers marked in red ink, noticing that the wrong ones were all based on questions about her personal preferences. Her expression was cold and distant, though inside she felt quite the opposite. She had always kept her thoughts to herself, never sharing them with anyone. It wasn't surprising that he had guessed wrong. It was natural. Weir glanced gently at the man focused in front of her. A strange, warm feeling suddenly welled up in her heart. "Maybe, just maybe, with the right person, I could do it." However, in Leon's eyes, my face always seemed to show nothing but annoyance. She had been staring at me since earlier. Was she holding a grudge because my score was higher? Seriously. He smiled warmly, not bothered by the way his shoulder brushed against mine, which caught Rose by surprise. "Ha ha, we haven't been together for long, so it's normal if you didn't get a high score." His gaze softened, filled with encouragement. "For No's sake, try to understand me better." Rose's heart raced. Maybe it was the moment of vulnerability that made her feel a little flushed. Trying to stay calm, she lowered her head slightly, trying to hide her annoyance. "Stop rambling, just write your answers down already." When she slammed the stack of papers down, it stung. After a little quarrel, the two of them got back to serious talk. "Isn't it that you wrote it wrong? Haven't you ever been disappointed in me?" Weir answered honestly. "Never. If anything, it was because I didn't practice my long-range skills enough last time." After hearing this, Leon grinned widely, boasting. "Later, we'll drink Long Dolly like it's water, and you won't be able to regret it. I'm really looking forward to that." The night before starting school, Leon looked over the test paper with satisfaction. Not bad. After a week of hard work, our average score reached 80. If we keep up this pace, the final exam will be no problem. Rose is exhausted, though, to the point where she just collapsed. "Well, everything's done now." He grabbed the stack of papers, feeling pleased, and waved goodbye. "If there's nothing else, I'm going back to my room." Suddenly, she grabbed the corner of his shirt. "Wait. Weir coldly pointed toward the room. "My bathroom has a bathtub. Go take a shower first, then go back." Leon hesitated, awkwardly asking, "Take a shower? In your room?" Without giving him a chance to refuse, she insisted, pushing him toward the door. "I told you to take a shower, so go. Hurry up." The door closed. Leon took off his shirt, revealing his toned body with a touch of confusion. Why was she making him shower here? Did she have some bad intentions? He sighed tired, but thought, she's been stressed out over the entrance exam lately, so I guessed it's fine, right? Sitting in the bathtub, soaking in the hot water until his face turned red, Leon laughed with pure enjoyment. He didn't care. He decided to just enjoy the moment. The relaxation eased his mind, making him feel even more at ease. "Ah, this feels so good." Behind the door, a slender yet full figure appeared. Weir, wearing only a white towel, casually stepped in. Leon was caught off guard. Rose Weir. She gently brushed her hair back, her tone vague yet seductive. "You've been under a lot of pressure these past few days, haven't you?" "I want to." The weight of his fate darkened his eyes. "Really, it always happens when it's needed. Such is the lot of men." Leon, feeling indignant, resisted. "Your pressure is your problem. Why bring it to me?" Weir winked, loosening her hold on him. If I transfer the pressure to you, then I'll be free, won't I? Then boldly she removed the towel, leaving Liam with no way to escape. Both of them were now marked by their actions. Besides, wasn't it for this reason that you came here a few days ago? He tried to refuse, but deep down he was already willing. With permission granted, Rose immediately pressed her body close to his, her dragon tail swishing behind her. Her gaze was charming, clearly pleased with their cooperation as she whispered into Leon's ear. You can't run away anymore, Leon. Just stand there and take it. At Green Academy, on the day of the entrance exam, the massive and grand school stood before Leon Cosmos and Rose Weir. They were there to bring their daughter, Noel Nelsie, to take the entrance exam. Leon looked around, amazed, and exclaimed, Wow, is this really Green Academy? He glanced at Weir's tense expression and couldn't resist teasing her by leaning in close. What's wrong? Didn't you just relieve all that stress last night? Was it already that ineffective? Her face flushed with embarrassment from his words. Weir shyly swatted his shoulder and whispered, Go to hell. Leon just laughed and responded, Ha ha, let's go. They all headed inside to register. The staff looked through their daughter's records and read aloud. Noel Nelsie, Silver Dragon Race, 1 year and 3 months. The staff member was surprised by her age, as she was so young. Leon looked at her, puzzled, and asked, Oh, is there a problem? The staff member quickly explained, No, I'm just surprised. She smiled and continued, Although the academy requires that children be at least 1 year old to enroll, in practice, most children start between the ages of 4 and 6. Isn't your little princess a bit young for this? Rose firmly replied, No is very smart. Age isn't an issue, and we respect her decision. Hearing Rose's response, the staff member nodded in agreement and moved on. She gestured toward the other parents who were gathered and said, I understand now. Please come in. In a moment, a staff member will take your child for the written test. Parents, please head up to the 4th floor for the family test. On the 4th floor, in a luxurious reception room, a tense exam was underway. Leon and Rose sat facing 3 elderly judges. Rose smiled, leaning on Leon's arm, and whispered to him, With your experience, do you think these 3 will be easy to handle? Leon observed the 3 judges and assessed the situation briefly. Looks like this is going to be easy. Before you capture me as a prisoner, I could defeat multiple dragons at once. The more he talked, the more his fighting spirit flared up. If they dare refuse to let Noah go to school, I'll bring a knife and pay them a visit. Seeing the fierce expression on his face, they all thought the same thing. This parent has some serious presence. The old man sitting in the middle introduced himself. I'm Van Wilson, Vice Principal of Green Academy. Today, I'll be conducting the test for you 2 parents. Don't worry, just answer my questions honestly. Levan and Rose forced a smile. She responded with a smile of her own. All right, Principal. But deep down, she was anxious. This old man seems like no pushover. He isn't going to ask us some weird questions, is he? Wilson held a piece of paper in his hand and began asking the 2 of them. Do you both remember when your wedding anniversary is? At this, they both exchanged a knowing glance, as if they predicted this question. Sure enough, here it was. Reflecting on the past, they both remembered sitting on the bed, surrounded by piles of paperwork scattered everywhere. Rose said, If you're asking about our wedding anniversary, how should I answer? After all, we're not officially married yet. We had kids first. Leon, sitting cross-legged with his arms folded, responded, If you mean a date that's memorable, it's only that one day. She paused for a moment and said it was 1733 in the creation calendar. The answer had already been decided. Both Liam and Weir answered in unison, May 25th. Leon thought to himself, That's the day Rose and I were united in the dungeon. He stroked his beard and said, It's been less than 2 years since your wedding, and your child is already 1 year old. That's faster than most families. Leon laughed and said, Ha ha, we fell in love at first sight, have a strong bond, so we got married quickly and had kids quickly. The man then asked them, In these 2 years of marriage, have you noticed any flaws or bad traits in each other? This time, they gave different answers. Leon said yes, while Weir said no. That surprised the man. He thought to himself, the answer should be a bit of both to sound more believable. He then asked them, curious. Go ahead, try saying it, he said, placing his hand on his chest and explaining. Sometimes I feel like I don't even exist. Then he smiled brightly, his eyes sparkling, and continued, My wife is so talented. Whether it's work, house chores, or taking care of the kids, she handles everything so well. After hearing those words, she felt like pulling away from him. But Leon took her hand, looked at her with a loving gaze, and continued. But she's under a lot of pressure, so I want to use this interview to tell her that. I also want to do more for this family. She can lean on me. Rose shyly played along with him, though inside she thought, don't use pressure as an excuse to wear me out later. Mrs. Selena, sitting next to the principal, spoke up. He's really a thoughtful husband. So, Rose Weir, what do you find most attractive about your husband? Weir's face turned bright red, and she turned away slightly embarrassed before answering he's handsome, fit, loyal, serious, smart, not cheesy, responsible, likes kids, and doesn't get grumpy. Even though he's not as strong as he was before we got married, it's nothing serious. My husband also knows how to make medicine. He knows how to use various herbs to strengthen the body. Hearing what she said, Leon felt a bit awkward and thought to himself, is she complimenting me or trying to subtly criticize me? Then she mimicked his actions and directly took his hand. Looking at him with determination, she said, so, I also want to take this opportunity to tell my husband not to push himself too hard. After saying that, she tightened her grip on Leon's hand so much that he almost wanted to scream. Seeing this, all three judges were pleased and thought to themselves, what a loving couple. Their conversation continued smoothly. By the end of the interview, the last judge asked one final question. So, by the end of the interview, is there anything you would like to ask each other? This was an extra question, and a person being asked didn't have to give a real answer. Weir shook her head and replied, I have nothing to ask my husband. I understand him completely. The judge then turned to Leon and asked, what about you, Mr. Leon? She turned to look at him, thinking to herself and urging him silently, talking too much might expose us, just finish the test already. Leon was still holding his chin, lost in thought, trying to figure out how to respond to the judge's question. Then he glanced at her and asked, you like the toy we gave you, don't you? This caught her off guard, making her blush as she thought, why is he asking a question completely unrelated to status, position, or any past conflicts? His thoughts always seem to surprise others. Weir shyly tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, hesitating before replying, oh yes, I really like it. Leon clapped his hands excitedly and said, all right, I have no more questions. He then stood up and shook hands with the vice principal. The vice principal said, that concludes the interview. The results will be sent to Silver Dragon Temple in a few days by the messenger dragon. Once again, thank you both for your cooperation. A few days later, the sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the sun was shining brightly. Soon after, the messenger dragon arrived, landing on the windowsill. On its back was a bamboo tube containing a letter. Mon excitedly said, hey, the messenger dragon is here. Leon nervously grabbed the tube and pulled out the letter. Everyone gathered around him, eagerly waiting to see what it said. Quick, open it. Dear Noel Melcy, congratulations on passing your school exam. We invite you to come to school and begin your enrollment in 3 days. The four of them gathered around to read the letter. Levan and Rose said in unison, enrollment. Noel, however, was surprised and said, I passed. Even Moan joined in the excitement with everyone else. Moan happily embraced her sister. You're so amazing, and so are Mom and Dad. This made both of them smile with happiness. Rose thanked Leon. Thank you. Levan sniffed and said, why are you thanking me? It's mostly because of Noah's own effort. No wonder she's my daughter. She turned around happily saying, we're having a celebration dinner tonight. Don't forget to come, or else you'll keep saying you don't feel part of this family. Leon grinned widely and replied, fine, I get it. I've realized you're really petty and hold grudges. A few days later, on the day of Green Academy's enrollment ceremony, Wilson addressed the crowd below. Congratulations to everyone who passed the assessment and welcome to Green Academy's enrollment ceremony. The crowd below eagerly listened as he continued his long speech. The new students this time have many who have achieved outstanding academic results. We believe that only a harmonious family can nurture such excellent students. Taking this opportunity, we'd like to invite some families to come up and share their experiences with everyone. Now let's welcome the first outstanding student, No Melcy, and her family to the stage. Mon sat below, her hands tightly clasped, excitedly saying, whoa, wow, Mom, Dad, and sister are going up to the stage. Sitting next to her was Anna, the head maid of the Silver Dragon clan. She smiled at the little girl and said, that's right, princess. Rose and Leon held Noah's hands as they walked up to the stage. Leon forced a smile, thinking to himself, how did it come to this? About an hour ago, the principal had happily announced to the couple, Noah achieved the highest score in the entrance exam. Your performance in the assessment also ranked first. Please come up as the representatives of the new students and their families to share your thoughts. But Leon had no choice but to go along with it. It all happened so suddenly, and there was nothing else to do but grin and bear it. Both Rose and Noah, along with me, kept serious expressions as the principal prepared to speak. He began, Noah, you're the youngest contestant, but you've scored the highest. Is there anything you'd like to share with everyone? Noah spoke calmly in front of the crowd. My mom is a very strong person. When I grow up, I want to be as strong as her. When I decided to go to school, she supported me. Rose stood beside her, beaming with pride as she looked at her daughter. And there's my little sister, Moan. She's always by my side. I'm really thankful for them. Moan, sitting below, opened her big, sparkling eyes, looking up at her sister with admiration. Liam glanced at Noah, feeling a sense of hope inside. What about Dad? Did you mention him? No took a deep breath before speaking again. Then, with genuine sincerity, she said, "The person I want to thank most is my dad. Every day, he helps me prepare for my exams. He often stays up late working on materials for me, and it's because of him that I'm standing here today." Hearing his daughter's words, Leon was so moved that his eyes filled with tears. He called out her name softly. "No, that's it. Thank you." After speaking, Noah politely bowed to everyone below. The principal smiled and praised her. "It seems that Mr. Leon is very skilled at raising children. If that's the case, since your daughter has thanked you like this, you should kiss her to show your fatherly love, right?" Leon's face turned pale, and he looked confused. He turned to Wilson silently thinking, what is the principal talking about? He doesn't want the opening ceremony to turn into a scene of a father being murdered, does he? Then he turned to look at No, thinking to himself, a month ago, No wouldn't even let me touch her. How could she let me kiss her in front of so many people? Leon then opened his arms and said to her, "No, don't make it so difficult. A hug will be enough, right?" Noah's face turned red from embarrassment. She turned her face away, hesitating as she said, "Hurry up, kiss me quickly so we can end this embarrassing ceremony." At her words, Leon froze for a moment, then called her name. No. Since she had said it, he gently walked over and kissed her on the forehead as a way of showing the love a father has for his daughter. Moen, looking at the scene above, couldn't help but feel a little jealous. The little girl wanted to run up and kiss her sister, and I also wanted to kiss her, but I was stopped by the maid beside me. "Princess Moen, you cannot go up right now." Meanwhile, Rose sighed in relief and thought, thank goodness it's not me. After the kiss, Levin smiled at No, who was blushing so hard that her face looked like a tomato. The principal continued speaking to the families below. The Dragon Clan will never forget the kindness of their families. The harmony of No Nelsie's family shows us what real family is like. Whether intentional or not, he then added another remark. "Your daughter has kissed already. They make such a loving couple. Why have you forgotten to kiss your wife, Mr. Leon?" As soon as the words left his mouth, both Leon and Weir were left speechless, their mouths hanging open in shock. They both said at the same time, "What?" Both of them were so angry that they were trembling all over. Leon gritted his teeth, his hands clenched into fists, thinking this old dragon really thinks too highly of himself. I'll have to take care of him during the assessment. He anxiously looked at No, silently worrying. But this was No's most important opening ceremony. Leon had fought in countless battles. How could he be scared by something like this? He turned to her and asked with a smile, "All right, my dear wife, we are the happiest and most harmonious family, aren't we?" That made Weir blush, and she stammered in a quiet voice. "What?" She continued, her voice barely audible. "Do you really want to kiss me in front of hundreds of dragons?" He answered confidently, "I have no choice. No and Moen are watching. Please play along with me." She hesitated, then said, "This isn't really appropriate. Moen is still waiting for a show from both of us up there." But Leon didn't hesitate. He pulled her into his arms and leaned in close. She felt embarrassed by his actions and thought to herself, even though we shared a bed and held hands, we've never kissed, except for that one time, 2 years ago. How can he be so calm about this? It's like I'm the only one nervous here. But she pushed those thoughts aside. Weir didn't want to dwell on it. She closed her eyes slightly, waiting for the kiss. Then Leon leaned in and kissed her cheek firmly. She looked at him surprised, a little disappointed. She reached up to rub her right cheek, where he had kissed her. Damn. Leon, at this point, placed one hand on his chest and the other behind his back, bowing to the crowd below. "This is all I can do." Ladies and gentlemen, the crowd cheered from below. "Why didn't you kiss on the lips? Kiss again, kiss again." He turned to look at her, speaking softly with a smug expression. "Damn, relax. The pressure's off now." After realizing his true intentions, Weir was so angry that her whole body trembled. She gritted her teeth and muttered under her breath, "This little brat, he actually used me to relieve his pressure. If there weren't so many people here, I'd pin him to the ground right now." Then the principal spoke, wrapping things up. "We sincerely thank this year's exemplary families for giving us their applause and laughter. Please feel free to rest now." Time passed quickly. Finally, the ceremony ended. Weir waved goodbye to No before her first day of school. "Okay, we're ready to go. I'll pick you up next week. Take care of yourself." No waved goodbye to her mom. "Yes, I know, Mom." Moen, clearly not wanting to let go of her older sister, ran over to hug her and said, sounding a little sad, "Remember Moen, okay?" No calmly replied, "Yeah, I'll remember you." Levin bent down, giving No a long reminder. "Make sure to eat on time, don't skip meals, and focus on your studies. If you don't understand something, wait until the break and ask Dad at home. Oh, and the most important thing, if you're sick, go to school and find the principal. Don't push yourself too hard." After listening to her father's endless advice, No said helplessly, "I know, I'm not a little kid." He glanced over at Weir, pointed at her, and said, "All that stuff your mom says when she's drunk. It's a bit awkward for her to say it to you, so I'm just helping her out. Weir stood behind him, arms crossed, and muttered, "Talks too much." He rolled up his sleeves and gave his daughter some final advice. If you run into classmates you don't get along with, just keep your distance. But if anyone bullies you, call me right away. I'll take care of it. Noah smiled at him and asked, "When your dad was still in school, did he ever do things like this?" Levin winked and proudly answered, "Of course. The only thing is, every time I got into a fight at school, my grandpa would take me home and give me a beating." He stood up, hands on his hips, and continued, "But don't worry, your dad won't ever hit you for something like that." Moen quickly ran over and hugged his dad's leg. Noah clenched his fist, determined to say, "Yeah, I know." At the Silver Dragon Temple, in the Queen's study, the room was filled with precious books and illuminated by the light from a lamp. Weir was intently reading a page. The blood curse spell could only be used once in a lifetime, requiring forbidden magic, using blood as the medium. One casting the spell would have to pay with their life. She paused as though coming up with an idea, then lifted her hand to her chin and smiled lightly. "If I tweak it a little, it could turn into something interesting." Suddenly, a shadow appeared. Recognizing who it was, Rose Weir spoke. "Back already?" A young girl landed, wearing a maid's outfit with purple hair and amber eyes. It was Solly, a member of the Silver Dragon class and a trusted maid. Rose asked, "How's the investigation going?" Solly lowered his head, looking guilty. "I'm sorry you couldn't find Tiger Lauren and his wife in the Empire. They're missing." Hearing that, Weir's heart sank. "Missing?" Solly continued, "All the information has been wiped clean. My men couldn't trace their whereabouts." Realizing the situation, Rose Weir thought for a moment. According to Leon, his uncle was just an old farmer, but now it seemed things were more complicated than that. In a serious tone, Weir gave an order to his subordinates: "Ensure safety and continue the investigation. As soon as you have any news, inform me immediately." Solly responded, "Yes, sir." By now it was evening outside. Leon swung a wooden staff, demonstrating powerful magic. He turned to Moen and cheered her on. "Come on, just like Dad. Grab this stick and strike down with force." The little girl eagerly responded, "Yes." She was more enthusiastic than skilled. Moen swung the stick in all directions, like she was swatting flies, leaving Leon helpless as he watched the scene unfold. Oh, as he was adjusting her stance, Rose appeared from behind. Rose and Anna approached. Moen's face lit up when she saw Weir. "Ah, it's Mom." When he saw his wife return, he turned to ask her, "Oh, back from patrol?" She shrugged casually, "Yeah." Holding Moen in her arms, Weir gently ruffled her hair. "Did you listen to your dad today?" Moen nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, Moen was really good. Dad even taught me how to hold a sword." Seeing her daughter being so obedient made her happy. Not bad. It's almost dinner time. I told the chef to make beef. Go change first." At the mention of food, Moen's eyes sparkled and she happily exclaimed, "Beef? I love beef." Anna took Moen's hand and led her away. "Come on, Moen, let's go." As Moen skipped along, she sang, "Beef, beef." Once Moen was out of sight, Weir turned to Leon and said, "About that, you." Before he could finish, she suddenly pointed a sharp, dry twig at him. With a smirk full of challenge, Rose Weir taunted, "Oh, so you finally made up your mind to take me down." At the Temple of the Silver Dragon, pointing a weapon at me is a serious offense punishable by severe torture. Leon wasn't backing down, though, and immediately countered. "This is just a stick. Queen, do you consider a stick a weapon?" Of course, Rose wasn't going to give in easily. Didn't he used to be the most powerful dragon slayer? If you were serious, even a stick in your hand could become a deadly weapon. As expected, Leon sighed and blew on a breath. "All right, I give up." He stepped closer to her and teased a little. "If you want to praise the dragon, just do it properly. Why throw in a jab like that?" She pouted and moved away. "Ha! Who would praise you?" Turning away, Liam put his hand behind his head and sighed again. "Sky just wanted to scare you a bit, but if you're not scared, then it's no fun anymore." Rose replied, "I don't think your current strength could hurt me with that tiny stick." There was a pause, and then she continued. "No wrote to me yesterday. She said she's doing fine and told us not to worry." Sitting on the bench, she turned to ask, "Is that it?" Was the letter that short? She wagged her tail and answered, "That's it." It was already a big deal that the girl had taken the initiative to write a letter just to let them know she was safe. Hearing that, Leon didn't object and nodded in agreement. After all, this was something very much like her. They both watched the sunset. Leon, looking tense as usual, spoke a little, but his expression was always so tight it was hard to tell what he was really thinking. Still, as long as you found the right way to approach him, being around him could be quite pleasant. Seeing this, Weir added, "Actually, No really admires you. She has a very typical Dragon Clan mindset, always wanting to be strong, always looking up to those who are powerful. Weir covered her mouth, trying to hold back a laugh at the surprised look on Leon's face. She continued, right now, in her eyes, you're a genius. That's why she talks about the Academy and all the #1 rankings, but she absolutely doesn't want to lose to anyone. Thinking back to when Noah had called herself a clueless fool, Leon chuckled lightly. I don't really believe that. I thought, in her eyes, I was just a weak, clueless fool myself. Weir took off her shoes to get comfortable, then spoke up again. When you first woke up, Noah used to avoid you, didn't she? But the truth is, when you were still unconscious, she would often sneak over to check on you. Sometimes when I catch it, it uses the excuse that it's coming to find Moan. Just hearing that, Leon couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, in this stubbornness, you're very much like her. Looking ahead, Rose fell into deep thought. When they were little and cried, no one could calm them down. But as soon as they were near you, they immediately quieted down. Maybe even before they had any awareness, blood ties had already drawn you close to each other. A brief image flashed in her mind of Leon lying with Noah and Moan when they were babies. He looked down at his hand and muttered, blood ties? Ha, that feels a little distant. At that moment, memories of his childhood flooded back. Leon spoke to himself inwardly. I was an orphan, never experiencing the love of parents, never really understanding what family means. When I was 5, my uncle and aunt adopted me. Even though we weren't blood-related, they treated me like their own. In his mind, he saw himself standing with a middle-aged couple. Yet Leon always felt a pang when he saw other families happy, hearing children call out for their parents from afar. He could never forget that moment. At first, I had an idea of what family meant, but sometimes I still felt a sense of loss inside. At that time, 5-year-old Leon made a wish. It would be so nice if Uncle and Aunt were really my parents. Aunt gently patted his head and said, one day you'll be a father to someone else. He didn't quite understand, so he repeated, a father? Yes, Aunt replied, they are the people you'll want to love and protect with all your heart. At this point, Rose, Noah, and Moan were standing at the edge facing the setting sun. Perhaps this was the moment when Leon's soul matured just a little bit. He clenched his fists, making a firm decision in his heart. No, they were indeed the family he cherished most right now. What are you daydreaming about? Rose's voice pulled him out of his thoughts. Flustered, Leon stood up and awkwardly blurted out, nothing. Thank you for telling me all that. Well then, let's go home. But she didn't move. Rose swayed her leg back and forth, teasing him with her high heels. Looking at his partner's playful antics, Leon raised an eyebrow. What's this? She smirked and suggested, if you really want to thank me, then help me put on my shoes. Hearing that, Leon nearly went deaf, not processing it immediately. What? Weir sat back in her chair demanding, if you want to thank me like that, then help me put on my shoes. But Leon strongly objected. Ha! Help you put on your shoes? How can I do that? Without holding back, Leon pointed his finger at her face, complaining helping you wash your feet last time was already humiliating enough. Now you want me to help you with your shoes? What? Do I not care about my dignity anymore? Hearing his refusal, Weir didn't hesitate. She swiftly planted a 5-toed foot right in his face and said, I haven't settled the score with you for that kiss during the orientation yet, and now you won't even help me put on my shoes. She swished her tail and teased him. Stop talking so much and just get it over with. We still gotta head back. With no other choice, Leon reluctantly lifted Weir's feet and slowly helped her into her shoes. Fine, fine. I'll do it. Seeing Leon's movements, she was satisfied and remarked, you say you don't want to, but your actions are surprisingly skillful. Hearing this, Leon sneered, giving her those boots is like nailing them to a donkey's hooves. This remark successfully angered Weir. She raised her long, slender legs ready to strike him, but Leon quickly dodged. As he ran, he turned his head and teased, as long as I run fast enough, you won't be able to catch me. Fuming, Weir thought to herself, what good is running fast? Tonight, I'll make you regret it. A few days passed by quickly. The three of them, Leon, Weir, and Moan, were standing together, gazing up at the sky, seemingly waiting for something. Suddenly, Moan shouted, it's here, it's here. At that moment, a giant dragon appeared in the sky, stretching its wings toward them. The dragon they were seeing was the giant Leviathan. Leon was taken aback and said to Weir, wow, this dragon is even bigger than your transformed form. As Leon marveled at the sight of the giant Leviathan, Weir calmly explained, the giant Leviathan is huge, but it's not as powerful in combat. Its true strength lies in its incredible endurance and emotional stability. So she usually handles transport tasks for the Dragon Clan. Hearing this, Leon asked, stable emotions? She answered, I heard that a Leviathan, from the moment it's born until it dies, never gets angry even once in thousands of years. That's why the Academy uses them to escort the baby dragons. Just as she finished speaking, a mystical blue light shone down from the giant dragon onto them. Within the light, the small figure of Noah appeared. As soon as Noah returned and saw Weir, she politely said, I'm home, Mom. Weir responded cheerfully, "Welcome home, No." Even Moan was overjoyed to see her sister return. She eagerly hugged No. "Sis, I miss you so much." No, though seeming distant, couldn't hide the happiness on her small face. When she saw Leon, she shyly mumbled, "Dad." Maybe she still wasn't used to it. Leon didn't push her, only thinking to himself, "This little one still hasn't learned to call me Dad." Now the four of them were finally reunited. They happily held hands and walked through the city gates together. Leon gently said, "It's good that you're back." Then he confidently told No that both Mom and Dad had made a lot of food that she liked. After the meal, they went to Weir's office. On her desk, many test papers were spread out. She glanced over them. The basic mechanical alchemy exam, full marks at the top. The magic theory exam, the young dragon's paper with a perfect score. The history of the dragon clan, the upper volume. The young dragon's paper with full marks. Weir proudly looked at the stack of papers, with Moen standing next to her, gazing at her sister with admiration. However, among the tests, one subject didn't meet expectations. Holding the paper in her hands, No felt like she had disappointed her parents. With a sad voice, she said, "There's one test left, the comprehensive physical fitness exam. I only scored 95, so I didn't get first place. I'm sorry." But Weir didn't blame her. Instead, she waved her hand in praise. No need to apologize. "You did really well." Moen hugged No's arm. She agreed with her mother, her eyes sparkling as she looked at No and said firmly, "Mom's right. In my heart, you will always be the best." Looking at the mother and child, Leon didn't know what to do. One couldn't express emotions, while the other went a bit overboard when they did. And yet, it was up to him, the biological father, to step in. After thinking for a moment, he picked up the test paper with a 95 score, studied it briefly, and said, "Oh, running, weightlifting, pull-ups. These are basic physical training exercises. Compared to the other 4 or 5-year-olds in your group, it's normal for your physical fitness to be a little lower." Then he looked at No and pointed out something. "But look here, the combat training section, you beat 9 out of 10 opponents. Your win rate is the highest in the class. This shows that even though your physical strength might not be as good as the others, your strategy and combat skills are far ahead of theirs." Finally, Leon reassured him, "So you don't need to worry too much about being third. You'll have a chance to surpass them in the future." Hearing this, No frowned, his small mouth trembling as he responded, "But Mom told me that you were always first when you were in school." Upon hearing this, Leon smiled gently and said, "Actually, when I first started school, I wasn't always at the top. Later on, gradually, through effort and determination, he managed to reach the top position." As someone with experience, Leon understood his daughter's worries. He added, "You still have plenty of time. Don't let one mistake discourage you. I believe you can do it." No, indeed, was not only smart, but also understanding. Leon's words made her feel more at ease. "I know," Nova said. However, after hearing about Leon's top academic achievements from his school days, Moen couldn't help but ask, "Dad, you're so impressive. So, if you fought Mom, who would win?" When it came to their competitive nature, this couple was truly alike. They both shouted in unison, "Dad will win. Mom will win." Then they looked at each other, clearly unconvinced. Together they said, "Ha." At that point, Leon started beating his chest and boasting, "My training skills from back then, whether it was hand-to-hand combat or magic weapon dueling, no one could beat me. Of course I'm better." On the other side, Rose wasn't going to back down. She retorted, "Even though I didn't win as many titles as you, but I only win the key matches." The two gritted their teeth, their eyes locked in a fiery stare. Weir spoke first. "Wasn't it you who couldn't beat me back then? You were captured as a prisoner right after we got married." Liam refused to accept it and replied, "You were clearly locked in a dungeon. Couldn't beat me. And that's how we ended up with 2 cute little daughters and Noah, right?" Without wasting more words, Leon said, "Let's go. I've been wanting to fight you for a long time." Weir responded, "How about we have a little competition?" With that, they both turned and ran outside, leaving their 2 adorable little daughters behind. Though they said that the children of this competitive couple were not about to miss the chance to watch the fight, the 2 girls quickly toddled after their parents. Noah held her little sister's hand, saying, "Let's go watch." Her eyes were sparkling as she asked, "Are they really going to fight?" The air was still thick with the smell of gunpowder. Levan and Weir were warming up, preparing their bodies. Meanwhile, Noah and Moan sat on the side, munching on buttery popcorn while enjoying the spectacle. Moan excitedly asked No, "You're curious too, right? Who's stronger, Dad or Mom?" However, Noah's reason for watching the fight was different from Moan's. The teacher said that watching more matches of skilled fighters would help improve our combat skills. Back to the match, Rose pretended to ask Leon, "Well, your health still hasn't recovered enough to fight with King Dragon, has it?" Leon was warming up and replied, "So what? Opportunities to fight Queen Long again don't come often, so of course I have to take it." Hearing this, Rose made a suggestion. "How about we make a bet?" Leon asked, What are you betting? Rose smiled and said, if you win, I won't touch you for a month. If I win, you'll have to fulfill any request I make. Leon frowned, thinking, I'm not sure what kind of weird request this dragon lady might make, but if I win, I get a whole month to rest. He felt overjoyed, almost to the point of tears. This was something he didn't even dare dream of on a normal day. With no turning back now, Leon agreed to Rose's challenge. All right, I accept the bet. Having achieved her goal, Rose didn't hesitate. Then let's begin. On the battlefield, smoke and dust swirled, mixed with the smell of gunpowder. Leon and Rose stared at each other seriously, both visibly tense. Little Moan was so excited that her legs were shaking uncontrollably. Moan accidentally knocked over a glass of fruit juice next to her, causing it to spill. Startled, Moan let out a cry. It was like the signal had been given. At that moment, Leon and Weir were already in combat mode. The moment the juice hit the ground, it was as if a signal announced the start of the fight. The two figures lunged at each other, while Moan cried out, Hugh, my juice. No reminded her. It started. Leon swiftly jumped, throwing a punch with all his strength toward Weir. But Weir's quick reflexes, thanks to her dragon nature, allowed her to block his attack just in time. At the same moment, her flexible tail swung from behind, launching a counterattack. Luckily for Leon, he managed to dodge the dangerous tail strike. It was clear his skills were no slouch. However, the reach of her tail was long, forcing him to flip backwards. As soon as his hands touched the ground, Leon quickly shifted into an attacking stance, bracing himself with one hand. He gathered momentum, preparing to deliver a powerful blow to Weir. She didn't hesitate to raise her hand to block, but the powerful attack forced her to take several steps back. After taking Leon's blow, Weir became more cautious and recognized her own weakness. She thought to herself, I can't gain the upper hand if I try to match his strength. I should keep my distance. Seeing Weir retreat and channeling mana into her fists, Leon quickly understood her strategy. He confidently said, It looks like Queen Your Majesty doesn't want to fight me up close anymore. She responded, Humph, as long as I can win against you, that's what matters. I'll make it happen. Weir then launched a barrage of mana orbs at Leon with incredible speed. This move was called Long Flame. Facing the powerful orbs, if Leon didn't dodge, they would explode on impact. He had no choice but to quickly run away. Meanwhile, outside the arena, two young spectators began commenting. Moan worriedly asked, Do you think Dad is going to lose? He's been running the whole time. Noah calmly analyzed, Not necessarily. Dad's been using pure physical skills to attack. Noah dodged her mother's attacks. Her mother, on the other hand, always used fire dragon breath to pull her in and look for an opportunity to strike unexpectedly. Noah took a bite of popcorn, cheeks puffed out, and made a sharp observation. This shows that in close combat, Mom isn't confident she can beat Dad. Moen, listening to her analysis, tilted his head, causing their cheeks to touch. He complimented her. You know so much. Noah, who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, blushed and humbly replied, Our teacher taught us that in class. I wonder who Noah's personality is like. Back to the fight, it was like a battle between mount and water spirits. Every time Leon dodged, Rose used fire dragon breath right after. She excitedly said, Leon, are you really that fast? Let's see you dodge this. Leon ran while responding, Huff, I'm not just fast, I'm tough too. Hearing him, Weir clapped her hands together, preparing to unleash a stronger move. She responded, How about this? Before long, the sound of something approaching made him wary. A cloud of dust quickly rose, followed by two streams of magical power rushing at him unexpectedly. Boom! A loud explosion rang out. A thick cloud of smoke, accompanied by a purple glow from the shockwave, caused the ground to crack open. The scale of the explosion was immense. After the blast, everything suddenly fell silent. The smoke began to dissipate. Amidst the smoke, Leon's figure emerged, crackling with blue lightning. With confidence, he said, You're too slow. Rose Weir saw Leon's figure, observed for a moment, and immediately recognized that the boy had used lightning magic to enhance his body. Leon was preparing to charge toward her. He said, No one is taking away my month of rest. The moment his words ended, it was as if a signal had been given. Leon shot forward like a falcon. Standing before Weir, he unleashed a barrage of punches, each fast and full of internal energy. The strength behind them made it difficult for Weir to block all of his attacks, even as she tried her best. While defending, she quickly began to think of a way to counter. His mana still hadn't fully recovered, but for him to use lightning magic to enhance his body to this extent, things had already gotten chaotic. The battle needed to end quickly. Lost in her thoughts, Weir didn't notice the opening, and Leon quickly took advantage of it. He stopped using his fist and swiftly kicked toward her legs, trying to make her fall. In an instant, Weir lost her balance. Ugh! She grunted, and within a second, she saw Leon closing in on her. He raised his fist, charged with lightning magic, as if victory was already in his grasp. I've won, he said. By this point, Weir was almost on the ground. Her arm hung suspended in the air, desperately searching for something to hold on to. Suddenly, Leon's hand, charged with lightning magic, shot out like a bolt, heading straight for Weir before stopping just short. Without wasting a second, Leon adjusted his aim, grabbing her arm and pulling her up. The tension of the moment shifted into something far more intimate. Leon's hand rested on her waist, their bodies pressed together, face to face, chest to chest. It seemed as if they were just inches away from kissing. Surprised by the sudden closeness, Weir blushed and called his name. Leon. It seemed like a romantic scene was about to unfold, but no, we were tricked. Weir placed her hand on Leon's chest and shouted, "Long flame!" Leon barely had time to react. He saw his shirt was burning. In contrast to his calm demeanor now, Leon jumped up and screamed loudly, "Ah, it's burning!" But then he realized something. Oh, the front of his shirt was singed, but he wasn't burnt at all. Leon wondered, "Why isn't it hot?" Weir, standing behind him, reminded him, "The fight isn't over yet. How can you be distracted like this?" At that moment, Leon turned his face away. If he hadn't, he would have noticed her rosy cheeks. From a distance, the two girls ran over. Moen asked, "So, who won? Who are the parents?" Having fallen for Weir's trick, Leon admitted he had made a mistake. This time, Dad lost. Although she had beaten him, Weir wasn't arrogant. "I must admit, you're really strong. Without magical armor or weapons you're used to, just relying on your physical strength, you were still able to fight like this with me. No one has been able to do that before." Leon confidently replied, "Humph, wasn't that obvious? If I fought with all my strength, I'd definitely beat you." Hearing that, Weir smiled and said, "Oh, since you've admitted defeat, don't forget about our bet." Hearing Weir mention the betting incident, Leon got so angry he almost passed out. He had completely forgotten about it. After he recovered, he lay on the ground as if his soul had left his body. The two kids sat beside him, watching their dad. Moen, on one side, asked, "Mom, why did Dad die?" Weir enjoyed seeing Leon like this and said, "It's fine, he just overexerted himself. His strength wasn't enough. He'll recover soon." That night, at the Silver Dragon Temple, the children were being taken care of. Leon spoke up to remind them, "No, after Dad is gone, you need to look after Moen. She's still young and doesn't understand much. You're the older sister, so you need to guide her. And Moen, you need to listen to your sister and not make her angry. Be good at home." Moen listened carefully while No crossed her arms and pouted. Leon expressed his feelings. "Who can be sure that when I leave this time, I won't be worried about both of you? You're just 1-year-old kids. How could your mother bear to take me away like this?" Noble, feeling helpless, spoke up. "Dad's just going to Mom's room to sleep for one night. It's not like you're being executed or anything." He panicked and quickly explained, "It's a complicated situation. The execution and beheading only happen in the blink of an eye for a mother, but the feeling of it lingers on someone else for an entire night. Compared to being executed, it's far more terrifying." Moen, with a curious and innocent expression, said, "Yes, I know. Mom wants to eat Dad, right?" Moen continued to explain, "I read in a book that after a praying mantis gets married, the female will eat the male." He crossed his arms and responded, "Well, that's not exactly right, but your dad's about to be eaten by your mom." "Moen, why are you still so cheerful?" Rose Weir stood outside the door saying, "All right, stop saying nonsense to the kids. You're acting like it's really scary." Then she stepped inside and smiled as she tucked the two children in. "Go to sleep early, don't worry. Mom's just planning to discuss some interesting things with Dad tonight." This made him freeze in shock. Leon spoke up. "Interesting things?" She replied, "Like the birth of the universe." He questioned, "Do you mean the origin of life?" She answered casually, "The mysteries of the world." Leon asked, "The mysteries of the body, right?" Rose Weir immediately pulled him away, not answering further. In short, the farewell was over and Liam was being dragged away. He called out, "Wait, I still have a will to share. No, Moen, remember that your father will always love you." Inside the room, the two children innocently asked, "What exactly are Dad and Mom trying to do?" No, with his eyes closed, answered, "I don't know, just let them be. It's a grown-up thing." Back in the room, both of them were ready with their glasses of wine in the Silver Dragon's sanctuary room, the Queen's bedroom. She crossed her legs and asked, "Aren't you going to drink?" He folded his arms and replied, "No." Rose stared at him in silence, puzzled, and asked, "Why not?" "I remember you promised that if you lost, you'd fulfill my request. Now you're refusing to even drink." Leon clicked his tongue and explained, Right now, I just don't feel like drinking." He thought to himself, "I need to stay rational. Tonight, I won't let her control me." She placed her glass on the table and said, "Actually, I really hoped you'd win." He was surprised and asked, "Why?" Rose thoughtfully explained, "If you won, I'd let you take a month off. You should take this chance to rest and recover. Who knows? Next time might be even more fun. Leon crossed his arms, still unwilling to admit defeat. So, does that mean you're surrendering today? He asked. Rose reached for her wine glass, but didn't drink it. Her eyes glinted playfully. I just thought of something even more entertaining. Then, without warning, she poured the wine over herself. With a pleased smile, Rose Weir said, "What I love most is the look on your face when you've lost, but refuse to admit." Leon's eyes widened as she suddenly sat on top of him. Aisha, what are you doing? She leaned closer with a teasing smile. Drink it all up, Leon. He hesitated, looking at the wine soaking into her cloak. The scent of rose mingled with the aroma of red wine, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that made it hard to think straight. Leon lowered his head and rested it lightly against her shoulder, making her blush in surprise. She laughed softly at his reaction. He looked up at her and asked, "Is that enough now?" She gave him a mischievous grin. Of course not. Rose Weir then commanded teasingly, "Open your mouth." She bit her lower lip playfully, drawing a tiny drop of blood, then quickly wiped it away, her eyes still locked on Leon. "Swallow it," she said, her tone cool but steady. Leon's eyes widened in shock. "Is that blood?" He immediately stepped back, startled. "What are you trying to do?" His instincts flared. Something felt dangerously familiar. Could it be that forbidden spell? She calmly wiped the corner of her mouth and met his gaze. "Yes, it's the blood sigle. You should recognize it. After all, you used it on me 2 years ago." His pupils trembled. He clutched his chest as a sudden warmth surged through his body, magic pulsing in his veins. "Why would you use that now?" he asked, his voice strained. "Because I remember how it felt when you cast it on me," she said, quietly but firmly. "It left a mark, not on my body, but on my heart." He broke into a sweat, his thoughts starting to blur under the spell's influence. "You know the cost of this enchantment, don't you?" "I do," she nodded. "But I've altered the formula. For someone with dragon blood, I've removed the harmful effects. All that's left is the connection." Leon struggled to stay focused as his body reacted to the enchantment. His knees weakened and the heat in his chest intensified. She gently placed a hand on his chest, her fingers tracing the sigil glowing beneath his shirt. "All this time, you've kept your distance. Even when I reached out, even when I tried too hard, you always pulled away." She leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. "But this time, no more pressure, no more spells. I want to hear your truth. Just you, Leon. Nothing else." Then he knelt down. She gleefully announced, "Ha ha ha, the game is about to begin. My delicious prisoner, Mr. Leon Cosmos." Leon clutched his chest, breathing heavily. "Ha!" Rose placed her hands on her hips, looking smug as she spoke to him. "The brave dragon slayer, righteous and honorable, but you're about to lose control, aren't you? Do you even know what you look like right now?" Leon quietly responded, "No." As she spoke, Rose Weir conjured a magical mirror with a purple glow. With a proud smile, Rose Weir explained, "I bought this in the Sky City. It's a magical tool that can temporarily capture images." He stared at his own reflection in the mirror, and Weir asked, "Leon, face it and tell me, what do you want to do now?" Leon answered, "Ha, kiss. I want to kiss." Suddenly, he froze, panic rising inside him, screaming, "This isn't right." Rose Weir asked again, "Huh? What did you say?" "Say it louder." Unable to control himself, Liam blurted out, "I want to kiss you, Rose Weir." But inside, he was in a state of chaos. Clearly, he hadn't meant to say those words, but they slipped out anyway. Rose Weir gently brushed Leon's cheek, her eyes cold and amused. "Leon, look at yourself. So pitiful. Throwing away your pride. Begging for a kiss from your enemy?" She pushed his face aside, smirking, but sorry. "My first kiss? You're not worthy of it." Leon froze, unable to speak. His heart pounded with frustration. Then suddenly he shouted, "No, Rose Weir." Without thinking, he moved forward and pinned her down, not in aggression, but desperation. She didn't flinch. Instead, her eyes gleamed with challenge. "So eager. That's not like you at all," she taunted. Leon took her hand and pressed a soft kiss to her knuckles like a knight swearing loyalty. "Rose Weir, I want to stand beside you. I want to understand you. Truly." His gaze darkened with sincerity. "I don't want us to be enemies anymore." Rose blinked in surprise. For a moment, a memory flickered, her own reflection 2 years ago, under the effect of the blood sigil, that same conflicted expression. She let out a soft chuckle and thought to herself, "So, this is what I looked like back then." She wrapped her arms around him, finally letting down her guard. "All right, if that's what you truly want, then show me, Leon. Show me what becomes of a proud warrior when his heart finally surrenders." In the moonlit silence, the two were no longer enemies, just two wounded souls, quietly learning how to heal. The next day on the bed, a platinum blonde hair spread out. Leon woke up first and sighed. He silently cursed himself. Last night, I fell again. He sat up and muttered, it's that damn blood curse. It makes me lose all my pride and dignity as a dragon slayer. I kept begging her to, with me. He gritted his teeth as he spoke, feeling humiliated once again, crossing another line. Seeing Rose still fast asleep, he cursed her in his mind, the root of all this trouble. She's out here enjoying herself and sleeping so soundly. Then Leon couldn't help but gently stroke her cheek, admiring how defenseless she looked. But suddenly he froze, feeling soft. Leon panicked, his inner voice screaming, "What am I doing? Why am I touching her face like this without thinking?" He was embarrassed and blamed himself. Why did I even want to touch her face? I was just trying to wake her up, I swear. I didn't mean anything else. Leon glanced at her again, wondering why she wasn't reacting. Could she be pretending to sleep? He called out to Rose. "Hey, stop pretending to sleep." He slapped her face and called out, "Wake up quickly. Aren't you usually so disciplined?" Leon crossed his arms, puzzled. Why isn't she awake yet? Could it be because of the blood curse? He muttered to himself, the effect of the blood curse depends on the strength of the person who cast it. I used it when I was about to die. I don't know how I came back to life, but it was enough to make me unconscious for 2 whole years. Rose Weir is a healthy king dragon. She'll probably be out for about a week. Leon thought deeply, then smirked, his expression turning devious. He quietly thought, doesn't that mean this is the perfect opportunity for me to escape? He opened a drawer, still thinking, a week's time, under normal human strength, I wouldn't get very far, but if I wear the black gold battle armor, that's a different story. He grinned smugly. With the restorative potions and the healing pills, all I need to do is push myself to the limit, and I can make it back to human territory. Confidently, he spoke to Weir. By the time she wakes up and realizes I'm gone, it will be too late. Ha ha. He threw his head back and laughed loudly. But then his laughter grew quieter, and in the end, he was left feeling powerless and dejected. He put the medicine back in the cabinet, thinking deeply, reconsidering everything. I've been away from the Empire for 2 years now. I wonder what's happening over there. He hesitated, still having many unanswered questions about the incident when he was captured that year. Rushing back might be too risky. It's better to be cautious. He rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, besides, I had asked Rose to investigate the current situation regarding him. Maybe I should wait for their report a little longer. He smiled faintly. The most important thing is, outside, Moan was chasing a butterfly. Catch it quickly. Noah urged, take it slow. Be careful not to fall. Seeing the 2 girls playfully laughing, he felt a sense of relief. He knew he couldn't abandon them now. Leon smiled with his eyes closed. Ha, I knew it. In the end, I still have to stay at the Silver Dragon Cathedral. He glanced at Rose, who was sleeping soundly, and murmured, after all, I still haven't had my revenge. Don't you think so? He softly called her name. Rose Weir lay quietly on her familiar bed, and Moan looked at her with concern beside the bed. Ma, are you okay? You've been asleep for a whole day. Noah turned seriously to ask him, what did you 2 do yesterday? Leon frowned, scratched his head, and gave an awkward smile. About that. The little girl looked at him even more intently as he explained, yesterday, we were talking on the balcony. Maybe she caught a chill, that's all. Liam quickly pulled the nearby servant into the conversation. It's nothing serious. You agree, right, Anna? Anna replied, Your Royal Highness, please rest assured, the healers for the Holy Temple just checked Her Majesty. While she is a bit weak, everything else is normal. Anna also suggested, for the next few days, I can temporarily handle the internal affairs for Your Majesty. If His Royal Highness has no further concerns, I'll take my leave now. He agreed. All right, you may go. The little one gently touched Rose's hair. Mom, please get better soon. Mom won't make you mad anymore. Leon frowned, rubbing his chin in thought, wondering why he was sweating. Wait a minute, I'll help her clean up. His thoughts were immediately questioned by No. Is Dad trying to take advantage of Mom being unconscious and do something? He leaned closer to her and explained, No, you're overthinking. Right now, I just want to take good care of your mom. She looked at him coldly, her eyes steady. Really? Well, that's good. Without saying anything else, she didn't stay long and left right away. Let's go, Moan. We'll visit Mom again tomorrow. Moan hesitated, reluctant to leave. Mom, I'll visit you tomorrow. The little one waved at him before closing the door. Good night, Dad. Leon smiled and replied, Good night. Once the room was empty, with just the 2 of them left, he carefully looked back at Rose. She was still sweating, her face slightly scrunched from discomfort. I'll get the towel, he said. His hands skillfully wrung out some water from the cloth. He brought it to her and whispered, I'm cleaning you up because I'm worried you might catch a cold. If you wake up, don't misunderstand, okay? While attending to her, he also noticed something odd. Normally, she always had her large tail visible, but now, her weakened state had caused it to disappear completely. For For the moment, Weir had been cleaned up by him, so he continued to mutter to himself, "Now that I've cleaned myself up, wouldn't it be better to change clothes while I'm at it?" Leland immediately opened the wardrobe. "With so many clothes here, it should be fine to just pick whatever I like, right?" He rummaged through her wardrobe, filled with all sorts of clothes, off the shoulder, low-cut bows, and black stockings. Leon stopped and then thought about using the clothes he found to replace the ones that were needed. But the real issue was what to do about that tail. He gently touched her white hair and braided it. Maybe he could use her hair to create something. The result was perfect, and Leon blushed, pleased with himself. Finally, Rose's body was dressed in a very seductive outfit, the limited attire of the female rabbit warrior, Rose Weir. Upon closer inspection, it was exactly his type, making Leon's heart race uncontrollably. Surprisingly, it suited her quite well. The mark on his chest immediately began to glow brightly. Leon hurriedly pulled his shirt up. Why is the dragon's mark suddenly glowing right now? Then he remembered Rose's earlier words. Both of them bore the mark of the dragon's sigle enchantment. If either person had the thought of wanting to have relations with the other, the dragon mark would react. Leon, blushing deeply and flustered, quickly brushed the thought away. Get out of my head, get out of my head. There's no way I would think of that with Rose when I'm in my right mind. It must be because of her limited edition bunny outfit. He then seriously clasped his hands together, muttering to himself, I should chant the 3 glories, 3 shames, Dragon Slayer 10 times to calm down. Proudly loyal to the Empire, ashamed to conspire with the Dragon Clan, proud on the bloody battlefield, embarrassed when fleeing from the battlefield, proud to wield the dragon-slaying sword in my prime, yet ashamed when I surrendered to the enemy and betrayed myself. The dragon mark gradually faded as his emotions settled. That was a close call, but it was so hard to get Rose Weir into this outfit, it'd be a shame not to capture it. The innocent girl was still deeply asleep, unaware that she was once again wearing this strange outfit. Leon tried to remember, and then it hit him. I think Rose has a camera at home, right? He quickly made his way to the storage box in the room and began rummaging through it. Before long, he pulled out a small camera. I found it, Leon said, not hesitating to turn in every direction to take photos of Rose. You have your day, Rose Weir, he teased, even giving her cheek a gentle squeeze to coax a faint smile out of her. Come on, wife, smile for me, he said, clearly pleased with himself. These dark, historic photos, I'll make sure you keep them safe, he added with a smirk. At that moment, Rose Weir let out a small groan, startling Leon. Oh shit, you're waking up that fast? He muttered. Luckily, she went quiet again, remaining still. The young man let out a sigh of relief. You've scared me there. Their room was the only one still lit in the dark night. I guess we should change into regular sleepwear, he added. The next day, a revenge plan would move forward. As dawn broke and the sky lightened, Mon rushed in. Sis, she cried. Noah crossed her arms and asked, what's going on? Just tell me. Mon held up her Rubik's Cube and said, my Rubik's Cube is broken, and I wanted to ask Dad to fix it, but I can't find him anywhere. Noah's face darkened. He'd take advantage of Mom being unconscious and run off. The older sister quickly grabbed Mon's hand and led her out. Don't worry, I'll go with you to find Dad. Mon followed and called out as if trying to find Leon. Dad, where are you?